Chapter 1871. Why are you in such a daze? Have you lost your soul? Shen Juli placed his hand on her wrist to check on her body. Ning Xuema smiled. Suddenly, she lifted her head and kissed him on his chin. I am a little tired. It's okay. I will be fine after some rest. A little tired, Shen Juli looked at her with a subtle gaze. Under his gaze, Ning Xuema nearly burst into flames. She jumped off his lap and sat in front of him. Why did you suddenly come here to play the zither? She thought that she had already woken up from her wet dream. The music is good for your recovery, Shen Juli answered. Then, you should have stayed in the hall and played for me alone. You should not have come so far away. By the way, why did you move me to the Snow Appreciation Hall when I was asleep? The name of the side hall that she slept in was the Snow Appreciation Hall. Shen Juli raised his eyebrows. Snow Appreciation Hall? Ning Xuema's heart skipped a beat. When she looked back at the hall, there seemed to be an inconspicuous plaque. There were a few big words on the plaque that she did not recognize. Nianma once told her that it was the Snow Appreciation Hall. So she always thought that it was the Snow Appreciation Hall. She was a little absent-minded earlier, so she did not look at the words carefully. Now that she thought about it, it seemed that the strokes of the words were indeed different from what she saw 50,000 years later. Shen Juli seemed to have thought of something. He looked at her from head to toe and teased her. Snow Appreciation Hall. This name is not bad. It fits the mood and the scenery. From now on, the hall will be called the Snow Appreciation Hall. Ning Xuema was speechless. He was teasing her again. Suddenly her heart skipped a beat. Was this the origin of the name of the Snow Appreciation Hall? Was she the one who named the hall? Ning Xuema decided not to think about it for the time being. She looked around and asked, why do you like to play the guqin here? She did not feel that there was anything special about the mountain. Quiet, Shen Juli answered lazily. Ning Xuema looked at him and felt a little wronged. They had just consummated their marriage last night, and he had tormented her enough. Usually, when a girl woke up in such a situation, shouldn't her husband prepare some nutritional supplements? However, he moved her to the back of a side hall and left her there alone, while he ran over here to play the guqin in a carefree manner. The Almighty was indeed the Almighty. He didn't know how to dote on others. She didn't say anything. She stood up and walked around the mountain peak. Soon she discovered that there was something different about the mountain peak. This mountain peak wasn't too high, but standing on top of it, one could overlook all the living beings in the world. To be able to look down on the other 35 heavens, at the corner of the mountain, there was a snow-white boulder. The boulder was flickering with fluorescent light, as if thousands of rays of light were gathering on it. Ning Xuema only glanced at it a few times before she felt her heart beating wildly, and she felt a little dizzy. Looking at the boulder was not comfortable, but she seemed to be addicted to it. She couldn't help but look at it again and again. She seemed to see countless characters flying around on the boulder. She wanted to see them more clearly, but those characters seemed to be covered by a layer of gauze, so she couldn't see them clearly. She took a few steps forward, hoping to see them more clearly, but unexpectedly, his head suddenly became dizzy, and he staggered backwards. However, she didn't fall to the ground. Instead, she fell into a faint embrace. Don't look at that, Shen Juli whispered in her ear. He carried her back to the gazebo and sat down. What is this boulder for? Ning Xuema was puzzled. She had come to this mountain more than once 50,000 years later, but she had never seen this boulder. Chapter 1872. Sky Mirror Stone, Shen Juli answered with 3 words. All right, let's not bother about this stone. Are you hungry? Ning Xuema's stomach actually grumbled when he asked. Shen Juli chuckled. You are indeed hungry. Ning Xuema blushed and looked at him provocatively. So what if I'm hungry? Can you cook a good meal for me here? Shen Juli held his chin and looked at her with a faint smile. Shouldn't the wife be the one to cook? The word wife pleased her. Ning Xuema squinted her eyes like a crescent moon. I'm not your wife yet, am I? We haven't gotten married yet. Shen Juli played with a strand of her hair. You want a ceremony? Ning Xuema raised her eyebrows. Of course. You have to know that a woman's wedding day is the day that she looks forward to the most. All right, then I'll give you a ceremony. What kind of ceremony do you want? Although she knew that this was a dream, Ning Xuema still said what she looked forward to the most. For example, a road paved with flowers, a bridal sedan. She said all the wedding methods that she could imagine in one breath. She even accidentally said the wedding dress. Shinjuli listened and rubbed her head. You have a rich imagination. All right, I'll give you a wedding like this in the future, and let you be completely satisfied for once. Ning Xuema smiled, but she felt a little bitter in her heart. This was a dream after all, a golden millet pillow. When she woke up from this dream, his gentleness and promise would disappear with the wind. The sun finally set and night fell. When night fell, Ning Xuema finally realized that this mountain was different from the rest. The stars in the sky were floating below the mountain. She stood on the mountain peak and looked down. What she saw was a spectacular Milky Way. Thousands of stars were floating below, like a river full of stars. The beauty of the scenery could not be found anywhere else. Shenjuli began to play the guqin again. The sound of the guqin drifted around the mountain peak, and even the stars at the foot of the mountain seemed to move along with the sound of the guqin. Ning Xuema rubbed her rumbling stomach. This devil lord had obviously learned the art of Anidia. Even if she didn't eat for a year, it wouldn't matter. How could she feel hungry after she possessed her body? Was this really still a dream? Shenjuli was also strange. When he asked her if she was hungry, she thought that he would prepare a table of delicious food for her. However, he seemed to have forgotten about it after he asked. Now, he was playing the piano again. Just as she was feeling a little resentful, she suddenly heard a pa sound. A fish fell from the sky and landed right next to her feet, giving her a fright. The fish was golden all over and wasn't small in size. It opened its mouth and puffed up its cheeks as it hopped around with all its might. Fish actually fell from the sky. Ning Xuema was even more excited than a pie falling from the sky. She grabbed the fish and beamed with joy. Julie, how about I roast a fish for you? Shenjuli raised his eyebrows and looked at her. He obviously didn't believe her. The fish you roast, is it edible? Ning Xuema was proud. I've been away for 3 days. Of course, I have to look at you with new eyes. I'll cook it for you now. She had learned how to cook in the real world, so that she could make a good meal for him when he returned. Now that she could show off her skills, she naturally didn't want to miss it. I'm looking forward to it. Shenjuli replied her with 2 words. Ning Xuema immediately cooked the fish. She was the devil lord. No matter what kind of utensils it was, she could easily make them appear. Shenjuli watched her busy at the side and his eyes flashed. Ning Xuema cooked the fish very quickly. After a while, a plate of braised fish was already out of the pot. She handed him a pair of chopsticks. Come try it. Chapter 1873. Shenjuli took the chopsticks and tasted it. It tasted pretty good. He couldn't help but look at her again and again. Ning Xuema was gorging herself while looking at him proudly. How is it? Not bad. Shenjuli gave a fair evaluation. This great god didn't praise people easily. She remembered that she had mastered a spell that took others 2 years to master in a month. In the end, when she went to show off in front of him, he only gave her a not bad evaluation, which was quite a blow to her. Therefore, it was not easy to get a not bad from him now. Shenjuli was still looking at her. Ning Xuema was a little scared by his stare. Why are you looking at me like that? There's no flower on my face. Shenjuli smiled leisurely. You look like a flower. It's like you're a different person. Ning Xuema's heart skipped a beat. Although little Xuema was her past, she was still ignorant at that time. She was still a child in terms of thinking. Unlike now, she had the memories of 3 lives, and had experienced too many joys and sorrows. She had been rolling in the mortal world for so many years. Whether it was her mentality or her personality, it was actually very different from before. It was like she was a different person. She tilted her head and looked at him. Then which one do you like? Shenjuli raised his eyebrows and looked at her. What do you mean which one? Didn't you say that I'm like a different person? Do you like the current me or the previous me? Shenjuli raised his hand and rubbed her face. Whether it's the current you or the previous you, isn't it still you? That was true. Ning Xuema ate half of the fish but was still not full. She looked up at the sky again. Why didn't the fish come down? But this fish was really delicious. Even with her half-baked culinary skills, The food was still delicious. After eating, she felt that her strength had increased a lot. Even the soreness from before was gone. Needless to say, it was Shen Juli's credit that fish could fall from the sky. Ning Xuema hugged one of his arms and said, "Julie, why don't you let God drop a few more fish? This is the heavenly river fish. It takes 1,000 years to grow to this size. If a mortal eats it, they can extend their lifespan by 1,000 years. If an immortal eats it, they can rapidly increase their power, break through bottlenecks, and quickly level up. Even the celestial emperor once asked me for a fish like this, and offered countless peaches in exchange for it. But I didn't give it to him." Shen Juli said leisurely, "Do you really eat it like an ordinary river fish?" It turned out that this fish was so expensive. Ning Xuema sighed. "Forget it. I was going to steam another one for you." She wished she could show off her cooking skills in front of him, and let him praise her. Shen Juli glanced at her and didn't say anything. Instead, he played a few notes on the zither. After a while, 3 more fish fell from the sky. They were even bigger than the previous one. Shen Juli ordered slowly, "I want 1 steamed, 1 fried, and 1 stewed." His eyes were full of expectation. "Can you make all of them?" His request was a little too much. Ning Xuema had already learned 2 cooking methods. However, it was just cooking. She could learn by analogy. She could try to explore the other aspects. She started to roll up her sleeves. Her eyes were shining. "I can try." "Try." Shen Juli waved his sleeves and took away 2 big fish, leaving only the smallest one for her. "Try that one." Ning Xuema stared at the 2 fish in his hands. She was unwilling to give up. "Let go of these 2. I'll cook these 2 fishes," Shen Juli said slowly as he cooked the 2 fishes. The 2 of them had suffered for so long. It was time to write about their sweet daily life. Of course, there was also a hidden plot. In fact, careful readers should be able to see that what Xuema thought was a dream was actually not a dream. "You asked me what it was exactly? That was a secret. Ha ha ha, it will be revealed later." Chapter 1874. Ning Xuema's competitive spirit was aroused. "How about we have a competition? Let's see who cooks the best." With the first successful fish as the foundation, Ning Xuema gained some confidence. Shen Juli looked at her and said, "Okay." He then added, "Utensils can be made at will, but seasonings can't be used." "Huh." Ning Xuema widened her eyes. Why? Wasn't he trying to make things difficult for her? Who would carry a bag of seasonings with them? She didn't even have any salt. She couldn't just boil it in plain water, right? Seasonings made with spells will hinder the effect of the fish. You have to use natural seasonings. Shen Juli explained to her, as he slowly took out all kinds of seasonings from his body. He placed the bottles and cans in a row, as if he was lining up. Regardless of whether it was the previous life or the future, some deep-rooted habits could not be changed. For example, the Almighty's obsession with cleanliness. He always placed things neatly, as if he was inspecting an army. Ning Xuema looked at the bottles and cans. She couldn't help but think of the medicine bottles left in his bedroom. They were also arranged in the same way. It was a pity that she would never see him again in the real world. Now it was nothing more than an illusion in a dream. She felt sour in her heart. She was handling the fish scales and accidentally cut her hand. Blood came out. She was about to deal with it herself when a hand reached out, grabbed her wrist, and pulled her up. "Why are you so careless?" Shen Juli glanced at the cut on her hand and helped her to deal with it. His hand was warm and dry, just like the temperature in her memory. The strength he used to hold her hand was just right. It wouldn't hurt her, and he handled it very cleanly. Ning Xuema lowered her head to look at his busy appearance. Her eyes suddenly felt bitter and sour. Such a small wound was a piece of cake for Shen Juli. In just a few moments, the bleeding had stopped, and the wound had healed quickly. He looked up and saw her watery eyes. The corners of her eyes were red. He was startled. "What's wrong? Why are you crying?" Ning Xuema threw herself into his arms and hugged his waist. She could feel his warmth and his breath. It was so warm, so nice, so real. These were all things that she could no longer feel in real life. The bitterness in her heart intensified, and she hugged him even tighter. If it was possible, she really wanted to kidnap him out of this dream and into reality, so that the 3 of them could stay together forever. Shen Juli placed his hand on her head and rubbed it. Then, he forcefully pulled her out of his arms and looked into her eyes. What's wrong with you? Ning Xuema wiped her eyes. Nothing. She said it was nothing, but she couldn't stop her tears. If only this was true. If only he was really by her side. Shen Juli looked at her, who was crying like a baby, and laughed. Is it because there is no seasoning? How about I lend you my seasoning as well? As he spoke, he raised his hand to wipe her tears. Although you have grown up, your crybaby habit hasn't changed at all. Ning Xuema knew how little Xuema was like in front of Shen Juli when she was a child. When she was punished or couldn't get something she wanted, she would use crying to torture him. Shen Juli often didn't fall for her tricks. He often watched her cry leisurely. Occasionally he would say, "Cry. It looks better when you cry. Your tears should fall in pairs to make it more beautiful." Chapter 1875. Every time he said something like that, she would get angry, and her tears would disappear in an instant. She hated him for being so hard-hearted. Her tears had always been invincible. But when it came to him, it was so easy to hit an iron plate. However, whenever she cried badly, Shen Juli did not seem to care. He even laughed at her. But in the end, he would always fulfill her request and say, "You look good when you cry. It will be great in the future." Ning Xuema suddenly realized that she seemed to have merged with little Xuema's memory. Originally, she only saw some scenes of little Xuema and Shen Juli in her dream. There was no scene of him saying those words when she cried. Now it automatically appeared in her mind, just like her original memory. Was it really a dream? Then this dream was a little too long. Could it be that she had transmigrated to 50,000 years ago? Would she be able to go back again? She originally traveled to this world, so it was not a big deal to travel again. But what about little Nienma? Was she dead in the other world? Little Nienma had already lost his father. If he lost his mother as well, she did not know how he would cry. Ning Xuema's heart ached. She was most sorry for the child. She did not take good care of him. Also, although she did not know what happened 50,000 years ago, she knew the final ending. The ending of little Xuema and Shen Juli was not good. Little Xuema jumped into the purple evil spirit and became a sacrifice, while Shen Juli left the celestial devil continent and went to the Tianxi continent. There he met her reincarnation. She frowned as she sat in his arms, her thoughts drifting off to God knows where. Shen Juli looked at her quietly. He did not disturb her. He held her in his arms with one hand, and the other hand was busy cooking. Ning Xuema was awakened by a very good smell of food. Her eyes fell on the slightly golden fish that was roasted. The aroma was so good that it could steal people's souls. She could not help but swallow her saliva. You have roasted one. It was too fragrant. It was simply too fragrant. Ning Xuema felt that she had never smelled such a delicious grilled fish in her life. If it smelled so good, then it would definitely be a delicacy. Shen Juli calmly turned the fish over again and answered her. You were lost in thought for too long. She didn't. She was lost in thought for a quarter of an hour at most. Ning Xuemo remembered that she hadn't cooked the fish yet. She quickly jumped out of his arms and said, I haven't cooked the fish yet. As she quickly processed the fish in her hand, she looked at the fish in his hand that was almost done grilling and asked, Can we exchange later? Why don't you taste mine and I'll taste yours? Shen Juli sprinkled the last layer of seasoning on the fish. We'll talk about it when you're done. How stingy. He was afraid that she wouldn't be able to cook well, so he would be at a disadvantage if they exchanged, right? This person really didn't want to be at a disadvantage, no matter when or where. Ning Xuema pursed her lips and steamed the fish. Since she knew how precious the fish was, Ning Xuema naturally did not want to waste it. She was very attentive and focused on cooking. Shen Juli had unknowingly squatted beside her. He watched her work and said casually, Your cooking skills have improved a lot. I remember that you were very stupid in this area. He really knew how to tell the truth. He wasn't afraid of hurting her self-confidence. Ning Xuemo replied, Hard work can make up for it. Chapter 1876. Ning Xuemo replied, Diligence makes up for stupidity. Before she could finish her sentence, a piece of fish appeared in her mouth. The fresh and fragrant taste filled her mouth, making her want to swallow her tongue. She had wanted to have a backbone and not eat his fish, but since it was so delicious, then, she would reluctantly eat it. When did you learn to cook? A long time later. Ning Xuema wanted to answer him like this, but he would definitely not believe it. So Ning Xuema answered in a proper way, not long ago. For her in reality, she did learn to cook a few days ago, and she did not lie. You are a promising child. Shen Julie praised her, and stuffed a piece of fish into her mouth. Ning Xuema was squatting there, and suddenly there was a brocade stool under her butt, which made her sit very comfortably. Shen Julie also sat next to her on the same brocade stool. While talking to her, he stuffed fish into her mouth. Ning Xuema, who was eating delicious food, was very easy to talk to. Her eyebrows and eyes were curved, and she answered almost all of his questions. Did you know Luo Jiuchen before? Shen Julie asked casually. No. Ning Xuema blinked. Even in her dream, it was the first time she saw him, okay? Shen Julie's eyes flashed with a touch of deep thought. Ning Xuema's heart moved. In fact, she also wanted to ask about Luo Jiuchen's origin. You seem to be very familiar with that bastard. What does he do? He drugged me as soon as we met. Shen Julie's fingers carelessly handed her some handy tools, and he answered carelessly, he has bad intentions. You should stay away from him in the future. Who is he? Ning Xuema did not give up. Shen Julie stuffed a piece of fish into her mouth and blocked her mouth. Just an idler. Ning Xuema. She still wanted to say something, but Shen Julie clapped his hands. Well, I have given you all the fish. Is yours cooked? Ning Xuema looked at the big fish bone in his hand. It was a complete fish skeleton, and there was not a single piece of meat left. It turned out that he had unknowingly fed her all the grilled fish. This person's cooking skills were not for show. Compared to him, her cooking skills, which she had painstakingly practiced cooking skills, were at most passable. Her steamed fish was out of the pot, and the taste could only be said to be passable. Shen Julie sat there, and tasted the food. She asked him unconfidently, is it good? Shen Julie ate elegantly and calmly, and answered her, it's still edible. It was edible. Even the dogs would not like to smell the food that she had cooked. With such an interruption, Ning Xuema forgot to ask about Luo Jiuchen. After eating and drinking, Ning Xuema was very satisfied. She felt that this was the life that only gods could live. The only flaw was that she could not bring little Nianma over and let him taste the precious fish. The little guy was still growing, so eating this would be very beneficial for him. Unfortunately, this was only a dream. She could not bring everything back from the dream. Nianma, sigh Nianma. Mother, Nianma misses you. Don't leave Nianma alone. She vaguely heard a call in her ear. The voice was very far away and very vague, but it made her heart tremble. Her body stiffened. What's wrong? Shen Julie was holding her and looking at the stars. He was keenly aware of her abnormality. Chapter 1877. What's wrong? Shen Julie was holding her and looking at the stars. He was keenly aware of her abnormality. Did you hear anything? Ning Xuema asked with uncertainty. Shen Julie looked at her and asked, what did you hear? Little Nianma's voice. Ning Xuema answered casually. Nianma? Shen Julie raised his eyebrows and looked at her. Who is he? He is your son after 50,000 years. Ning Xuema wanted to say so, but she could not say it. She paused for a moment and tilted her head to listen again, but she couldn't hear any calls. Perhaps she was hallucinating. Ning Xuema looked at Shen Julie and suddenly had an idea. If she tried to tell him the truth, how would he react? However, even if she wanted to ask, she had to ask in a roundabout way. Julie, do you think I have changed a lot recently? Shen Julie looked at her and said, it is as if you have changed into a different person. After her body grew bigger, her personality was also very different from before. Shen Julie did not suspect that she was possessed by someone else. He had secretly checked her soul several times, but the soul inside was indeed her, and not some wandering spirit. What was more strange was that he was actually used to her changed personality. It was as if she was supposed to be like this when she grew up. He also liked her personality when she grew up. When she was young, although his feelings for her were different, he only treated her as a child, and did not have any improper thoughts about her. When she was poisoned, he even wanted to use a special method to detoxify her, by consuming half of his spiritual power. He did not intend to use the most direct and simplest method. It wasn't until she became a completely different person and started to cling onto his body that his mentality suddenly changed. That was the reason why he was able to detoxify her last night. He looked at her beside him. She looked up at him with a pair of watery eyes. Her little face seemed to be stained with the glow of the sunset. He did not know why, but he suddenly remembered how she was under him last night. Suddenly, his throat tightened, and his eyes gradually darkened. Ning Xuema did not know that she had been targeted by the wolf. She hugged his arm and tried to beat around the bush. Then, do you feel that I have matured? Shen Juli looked at her for a moment, and his eyes darkened. You have indeed matured. Have you never suspected that I was possessed? Ning Xuema finally gathered the courage to ask. Your soul is in your body. Shen Juli answered. His eyes looked at her was even more unpredictable. It turned out that he had already examined her soul body. It seemed that he was indeed suspicious. Ning Xuema didn't know if it was because she was relieved, or if it was because of something else. But when she lifted her head, she forgot that she was sitting in his embrace. The two of them were so close that when she lifted her head, it was just enough for her lips to meet his. Her red lips touched his thin lips. Her heart skipped a beat. She was about to lean back and move away from him, but he pressed her head down and kissed her lips forcefully. Oh, she wanted to say something else, but when she opened her mouth, his lips and tongue had already begun to invade her. Her heart was beating like thunder, and her head was buzzing. Focus, he whispered softly beside her lips. His movements were forceful and gentle, so she could not say another word. His movements could be said to be calm and composed, but it was incomparably forceful. The tip of his tongue opened her teeth and accurately searched for her tongue, forcing it to dance with him. He did not give her any room to retreat. Chapter 1878. She wanted to struggle, but her hands were firmly held by him. She was in his arms, so she had no choice but to let him do whatever he wanted. She originally thought that he just wanted a kiss from her, but she didn't expect him to fall to the ground while hugging and kissing her. In that instant, Ning Xuema understood what he wanted to do. The moment she was pressed down by him, her heart was startled. Although the scenery here was magnificent, the ground beneath her feet was made of solid bluestone. Moreover, it was bumpy. If she fell on it, she was afraid that her back would be ground to mush. Before she could finish worrying, her body had already landed on a soft blanket. This person was really well prepared. He even prepared a blanket. But they were outside, okay? She pushed him away and blushed like an apple. We can't do it here. Don't worry. There's only you and me here. No one else. But, no buts. Be good. There's still poison in your body. Ning Xuema didn't know whether to laugh or cry. She didn't have any poison left in her body, okay? He was the one with the poison in his body, wasn't he? No, he couldn't say that there was still poison in his body, but he was addicted to it. It turned out that this divine master was also like this when he had a taste. The stars around the peak rose and fell. The wind blew the white veil at the corner of the pavilion. The world was peaceful, and he and she were very harmonious. It was not an ordinary harmony. She couldn't deny that this Almighty was very studious. When he made love with her for the first time, his movements were a little stiff and painful. But now, the Almighty was a professional player. This lasted for a long time. Ning Xuema felt that the fish she ate had been used up by this exercise. Time passed, and it was already the latter half of the night. Ning Xuema was so tired that she lay on the blanket and couldn't get up. Shen Juli, on the other hand, was calm and composed. He was cleaning her up and applying medicine on her wounds. When he was cleaning a certain part of her body, the shyness that she felt when she ran away from home suddenly returned. She could not help but block it. He looked at her hand gesture and guessed. Do you want more? Want your sister? Ning Xuema opened her eyes and tried to get up. I'll do it myself. However, the moment he moved, he felt as if his entire body was falling apart. He didn't want to move at all. We're already like this. Why are you still shy? Shen Juli found it strange. Any woman would be shy, all right. Ning Xuema thought that she had a thorough understanding of the Almighty, but now she realized that she only knew the surface. Once this supreme divinity decided to act shamelessly, it could completely change her worldview. She turned to look at him. His robes were already neat and tidy, and his celestial aura was floating. He still looked untainted by the mortal world. Looking back at himself, he was just like the saying in A Dream of the Red Chamber, naked and without any worries. Fortunately, he had already cleaned her up. Ning Xuema grabbed the clothes next to her and put them on. Shen Juli sat at the side and watched her busy herself. When she was dressed, he waved to her and said, "Come here." How would Ning Xuema dare to go over? She looked at him cautiously. What are you doing? She didn't want to come again. If she came again, she wouldn't be able to leave this mountain. She was afraid that he would cast a spell to pull her over again. She even took a few steps back and rejected him sternly. I don't want to come again. Chapter 1879. Shen Juli raised his eyebrows in surprise. I just want to give you a massage to loosen your muscles and bones. What are you thinking? Ning Xuema was speechless. Shen Juli sighed. I didn't expect you to be impure so soon. Ning Xuema had the urge to bite him. Damn it. He had been flirting with her all along. Why did he label her as an impure person? She never thought that Shen Juli would have such a wicked taste after his first taste. Even when he was with Shui Yimo, he did not seem to be like this. At that time, he was more fond of Shui Yimo. Perhaps, he already knew that she came with a purpose, so his eyes were always flashing with deep thoughts. As for the time when little Nianma was with her, she miserably had sex with him once. After that, he disappeared and later, he violently punished her. Unlike this time, she did not know that he could be so evil. This kind of him made her feel a little strange, so she moved her butt back again. What are you afraid of? Shen Juli sat there and looked at her. His tone was very patient. Are you afraid that I will eat you up? Damn it, he had already eaten her 3 times today, all right. The reason why she was still so lively was all because of her good health. Come here. I will make you very comfortable. Shen Juli sat there solemnly. His words were like the big bad wolf who was tempting Little Red Riding Hood. But his tone was very serious. Ning Xuema wanted to cry but had no tears. His words could easily lead people astray. Shen Juli's fingers tapped on the futon under him. He looked like he was about to laugh. Xuema, if I want to do anything to you, even if you are 800 feet away from me, I can still make you throw yourself into my arms in an instant. This sentence was indeed true. Ning Xuema certainly knew what he was capable of. He could indeed do this with just a few gestures. Thus, she sat in front of him and turned her back to him. All right, since you're still sincere, I'll let you serve me this time. Shen Juli smiled. Naturally, he didn't want to argue with her anymore. His massage technique was very professional, and he also used a spell during the massage. Therefore, the soreness in Ning Xuema's body disappeared like snow melting away. Moreover, his actions were very proper, and he didn't take advantage of her at all. Ning Xuema finally breathed a sigh of relief. After such a torment, she had forgotten what she wanted to say earlier. The night breeze was getting colder. Ning Xuema subconsciously leaned into his arms and sighed. Everything is just like a dream. If only this was not a dream. If only she could bring little Nianma here, then she would be satisfied. The two of them snuggled together and looked at the flowing river of stars and the overlapping sun and moon outside. Shen Juli seemed to have thought of something. Let's pick a date and have the wedding. Although he didn't care about the ceremony, since she liked it, he would do it as soon as possible. Ning Xuema's heart skipped a beat. She could not help but ask, do you really want to marry me? Shen Juli raised his eyebrows. Don't you want to marry me? You even brought a lot of dowry. Do you want me to show you the proposal letter? Ning Xuema coughed. That thing. Didn't you burn it? Well, I wanted to burn it, but it was not easy to ignite it. So I threw it into the storage space. Shen Juli pinched his fingertips, and a red invitation letter appeared in his palm. Do you want me to read it to you? Ning Xuema coughed. Since she already had little Xuema's memory, she naturally knew what was written on the invitation letter. Chapter 1880. Julie, you and I love each other, So we are doing good for the people. Marry me and be my husband. I have countless jewels as my dowry. She was so straightforward that it made people's hair stand on end. Shinjuli stretched out his finger and knocked on her head. I have taught you for a few years, and you still learn to be like this. You are a disgrace to me. When he first saw the post, he didn't know whether to laugh or cry. He had the impulse to pull her over and slap the post on her face. Ning Xuema understood that the reason why little Xuema was like that was because of the environment. Shinjuli only came once every 10 days, or half a month to teach her. Each time he came, the time was limited. He just let her memorize books. She memorized a lot of books, but after all, she was in the demon realm and the devil realm. There were few people in the demon realm and the devil realm who were literate. Everyone was generally very straightforward. Little Xuema grew up in that kind of environment. Gradually, she developed a temperament where she would use her fists to subdue others. In addition, after she entered the devil realm, she had not seen Shinjuli for nearly 1,000 years. Thus, she had long forgotten all the literary words that he taught her. Therefore, when she proposed to Shinjuli, she wrote such a straightforward letter. Even the words were written in a threatening manner. Shinjuli sighed when he read it. Every time he saw her, he had the urge to drag her to his side and make her his woman again. Straightforward, naive, reckless, but her strength was off the charts. When she smiled, her eyelashes curved like an angel. When she cried, her tears rolled down in pairs, making people want to hold her in their arms and pamper her. This was the feeling that little Xuema gave people. Shinjuli had lived for too long and was too bored. He had saved many people or things, and even brought back the particularly clever ones to teach for a few days. However, he had never been very patient with this. No matter how smart and clever a spiritual pet was, after raising it for a while, he would let it go again, or let it choose another master. Of course, he had adopted more spiritual pets, but it was the first time he had raised a demon. He was the master of the 6 realms, so the devil realm was naturally under his jurisdiction. Naturally, he would not look down on the devil realm. However, it was still very refreshing for him to personally teach a devil that was born from the heavens and earth. For the first time, after teaching her for so many years, he actually didn't get tired of teaching her. After she ran off to the devil world to conquer the world, although he no longer went to see her, he still paid attention to her news from time to time. He knew that with her ability, she wouldn't suffer any losses. Later on, when she became the devil master, he even had the feeling that the child he taught had finally grown up and become a talent. As for her sudden proposal letter, he didn't know whether to laugh or cry, so he naturally ignored it. He did not think that he would want to marry a child. What's more, her method of marriage proposal was so strange that he would never agree to it. But even if he didn't agree, he still treated her differently. He still cared about her and paid attention to her movements. He even kept looking for ways to make her grow up completely. Originally, he had never thought of taking her as his wife. But from a certain point last night, it was as if he had changed his nature. The thought of wanting her was howling in his chest, and he wanted to keep her by his side forever. Since he wanted her and could also cure her poison, he naturally went with the flow. He was not an irresponsible person. When he and she were having sex, he had already made up his mind to marry her. Now that he mentioned it, he casually pinched her little face. In a few days, I will draft a marriage proposal letter and send it to your Mo palace to prepare for our marriage. Chapter 1881. Ning Xuema widened her eyes. This was too fast. It was too smooth. Was she really dreaming? Was there a time when their marriage was so smooth? It was impossible, right? Ning Xuema suddenly thought of something. Oh right, we can't get married, right? Didn't they say that gods and devils can't love each other? Shinjuli raised his eyebrows in surprise. Who said that gods and devils can't love each other? Why do you say that? Ning Xuema was also stunned. She blurted out. Didn't they say that gods and devils can't coexist? If gods and devils love each other, they will go against heaven's law and bring disaster? Bring about the destruction of the world. Shinjuli stretched his legs and rested his chin on his hand. He looked at her thoughtfully and said, Where did this saying come from? Why didn't I know? Could it be that the Shun Julie of this world didn't know about heaven's law? Then when did he know? Ning Xuema felt a little confused. She coughed. It's said that this is heaven's prophecy. Maybe heaven's law hasn't made this prophecy yet. But it doesn't mean that it won't happen in the future. Shun Julie glanced at the white stone not far away, and then looked at her in his arms. Heaven's law, no one knows it better than me. If it really had a prophecy, I would be the first to know. Now I don't know, so how did you know? Ning Xuema choked. Shun Julie looked at her with a deep gaze. Xuema, are you hiding something from me? If she told him that she was Xuema 50,000 years later, what would he think? What would he do? Ning Xuema made up her mind and looked at him. Julie, have you heard of time travel? Shun Julie looked at her and shook his head slightly. Ning Xuema took another breath. Actually, I'm not the current Xuema. I'm 50,000 years from now. Before she could finish her sentence, she suddenly heard a heart-wrenching cry. Mother! Don't leave Nianma behind. That cry was extremely sharp, like a heavy hammer striking her heart. There was a loud bang in her head, and she felt dizzy. When she came back to her senses, she was surprised to find that she was floating in the air. She subconsciously looked down, but before she could see anything clearly, she heard another cry. Mother! Wow, Mother! Ning Xuema shuddered. The space in front of her suddenly twisted and spun like a kaleidoscope. Then she felt her vision go black. Her body felt heavier than ever. Ning Xuema opened her eyes and saw the light blue bed curtain. Outside the bed curtains, a luminous pearl emitted a faint light. Her hand was tightly held by someone, and a small head was pressed against her hand, crying heartbreakingly. Mother, don't go! Mother, don't go! You can't abandon Nianma. Nianma will be good and obedient. You can't do this to me. Warm tears flowed down her hand. Ning Xuema's hand trembled, and she was completely awakened. Her lips moved. Nianma. The little head on her hand suddenly froze, and then he looked up in disbelief. The moment his eyes met hers, the child's eyes suddenly opened wide, and his voice trembled. Mother! His little face was streaked with tears, and his eyes were swollen from crying. His big eyes looked like small eyes from crying. He plunged into her arms. The little child was only 2 feet tall. He pulled Ning Xuema's clothes and cried loudly. Mother, you scared me to death. Woo! Chapter 1882. Nianma plunged into Ning Xuema's arms. The little child was only 2 feet tall. He tugged at Ning Xuema's clothes and cried loudly. Mother, you scared me to death. At this time, he finally cried to express his grievances like a child who was only a few months old. Ning Xuema struggled to hold him. She felt that this body was very heavy, and many parts of her body were in pain. However, it was her body in this world that had just returned from Mother Earth, and was severely injured. Imo, you are finally back. A voice was heard from above. The voice was vaguely familiar. Ning Xuema heard it and looked up. Her body was slightly stiff. A handsome and tall man in a purple robe was standing in front of her bed. He was waving a fan in his hand and looking at her with a smile. There were waves of light in his dark eyes. It seemed as if he was happy and teasing her at the same time. There was also an indescribable emotion in his eyes. His purple robe was extremely complicated and gorgeous. The light from the luminous pearl above his head shone on his purple robe, making it look as if there was water flowing on his purple robe. Dao Tianchen. No, it was Luo Jiuchen, the guy who drugged her 50,000 years ago. Thousands of thoughts flashed through Ning Xuema's mind, but she did not show it on her face. She even raised her eyebrows in surprise. Who are you? Her reaction was very fast. At this moment, she already knew where she was. She was back in the real world. And the person in front of her was the only person who existed 50,000 years ago. Perhaps, he was also the person who knew the truth. If she asked directly, he would never tell her with his scheming mind. Therefore, she had to find a way to ask him. Her eyes were too pure, as if she had just woken up from a dream. It did not look like her soul had just returned. Luo Jiuchen looked at her, and seemed to be trying to find something from her face. After a moment he slowly smiled with a gentle smile. Imo, I am Dao Tianchen, and I am also the only honored lord in this world. You were severely injured and dying, And I saved you. Do you know that you almost died? He looked at the clock in the middle of the hall and sighed again. If you hadn't woken up in another 15 minutes, then I wouldn't have been able to do anything. Fortunately, you've come back and you're awake. The only honored lord? What kind of title was that? Ning Xuema was not interested in the other things he said, but she did not like these words. Her heart skipped a beat, and she had a bad premonition. What does the only venerable mean? Luo Jiuchen sat on a chair beside her bed and smiled. I am the only great lord in the 6 realms. He then glanced at little Nianma, who was staring at him in Ning Xuema's arms. I have agreed to one of the conditions of this little guy. One of the conditions is that he cannot be called a deity, so I call him Great Lord. Ning Xuema's face paled. Another god? After this world Shenjuli's soul was destroyed, another god appeared in this world. Mother Earth once said that gods and devils couldn't coexist, and gods and devils couldn't love each other either. If there were gods, there wouldn't be devils. And if there were devil masters, there wouldn't be gods anymore. If she wanted a god to be reborn, she, the devil master, had to die. When she came back from Mother Earth, she planned to leave this continent with little Nianma as soon as she recovered. As long as she was not on this continent, perhaps Shenjuli could be reborn in 100 years. However, now another god had appeared. In this world, gods and devils couldn't coexist, but there couldn't be 2 gods, right? If Luo Jiuchen was really a god, did it mean that Shenjuli would never come back? Chapter 1883. Ning Xuema felt that her hands and feet were cold. She looked at him for a moment and suddenly sneered. You are boasting too much. Do you think you are the master of heaven and earth, just because you said so? You don't believe me? Luo Jiuchen stopped waving his fan. Only a fool would believe you. Ning Xuema was disdainful. Luo Jiuchen chuckled. His smile was absolutely beautiful and had a soul-stirring power. If he showed such a smile to other women, those women would be instantly killed. They would be obsessed with his smile, allowing him to do whatever he wanted and obeying him in every way. However, the mother and daughter in the hall were not interested in his smile. Shen Nianma was the first to jump up. Now that his mother was back, he had more confidence. You are not the master of heaven and earth. My father is. Don't try to fool us. Luo Jiuchen's eyes showed a hint of a smile. Little Nianma, your father was indeed the master of heaven and earth. Unfortunately, he has. Luo Jiuchen. Before he could finish his sentence, Ning Xuema interrupted him. Although her voice was still a little weak, it was very powerful. Luo Jiuchen's pair of charming phoenix eyes narrowed slightly. He glanced at Ning Xuema's face. Imo, do you still remember me? She called out his real name as soon as they met. Did she still remember the things that happened 50,000 years ago? Rumor had it that she had lost her memory from 50,000 years ago. Ning Xuema did not say anything. She just closed her eyes slightly. You can go out. I am tired. Imo. Luo Jiuchen's eyes flashed slightly. No one knew what he was thinking. Ning Xuema did not open her eyes. Her voice was weak. Luo Jiuchen, I don't want to talk about the past now. I am tired. Let me rest. Her face was indeed very pale. It seemed that she would faint at any time. Luo Jiuchen paused and sighed softly. Have a good rest. I will come to see you tomorrow. Nianma was fast asleep. The child had been watching over her for 3 days without rest. He had cried for 3 days and finally fell asleep. She was sleeping in her arms, her small hands unconsciously clutching her clothes tightly, as if she was afraid that she would run away again. Even in his sleep he was restless. From time to time he would mutter, Mother, don't leave Nianma. The 3 days that she was in a coma must have traumatized the child. Ning Xuema gently placed her palm on her son's eyes. Although she was very tired, she still insisted on reducing the swelling in her son's eyes. She then pulled the child closer to her side, letting him lean closer to her. There were only the 2 of them left in this world. She was the child's pillar of support, so she couldn't willfully abandon him. She had just talked to her son and found out everything that had happened after she fainted. She knew that she had been dead for 3 days. She also knew that Luo Jiuchen was released from the bell by Nianma. She also knew that Luo Jiuchen had to agree to 3 conditions. 2 of the conditions had been fulfilled, Perhaps, after he had completed the 3 conditions, he would truly become a god and replace Shenjuli. When she thought of the last point, Ning Xuema broke out in a cold sweat. She would never allow such a thing to happen. Shenjuli was irreplaceable. She did not hope that Shenjuli would always be a god. But once Luo Jiuchen became a god, it meant that Shenjuli would never come back. Ning Xuema's senses were still very sharp. When Luo Jiuchen stood here just now, his aura was very strong. Chapter 1884. Ning Xuema's senses were still very sharp. When Luo Jiuchen stood here just now, the aura around him was very strong. It was almost as strong as Shenjuli's. Therefore, she could not completely deny this person's words. Now this person was a huge threat. Both Ning Xuema and Nianma's injuries were minor, so they could not confront this person head-on. Therefore, Ning Xuema temporarily used a stalling tactic to send this person away first. Ning Xuema closed her eyes slightly and silently thought. Since Shenjuli immortalized and she came to Fantian Palace, many things had happened. She had to carefully think through it. However, there were too many clues, and they were like a mess in her mind. She could not sort them out at the moment. She raised her hand and rubbed her eyebrows. Her body was a little sore after lying down for a long time, so she gently turned over. However, this time she froze. The area between her legs was sore and numb, and it hurt a little. This symptom. It was clearly the symptom of just having sex. Could it be that she was raped by Luo Jiuchen when she was in a coma? No, it could not be. Little Nianma also said that he had not left her side for the past 3 days. No matter how bad Luo Jiuchen's character was, he could not have done such a dirty thing in front of a child, right? She thought of the dream again, and her heart suddenly moved. In the dream, she and Shenjuli had a few tender moments. She remembered that when she woke up, she had just been intimate with Shenjuli. Could the sex in the dream also make the body in the real world feel the same? Dream, was it really a dream? Little Nianma said that she felt like she was dead for the past 3 days. There was no sound, not even a heartbeat. It was clearly a symptom of her soul leaving her body. Was it not a dream? Was it just like when she ran to Yi Qingwan's place? Did her soul travel through time and space to 50,000 years in the past? If it was time travel, then everything she encountered there was real. Shenjuli was real, and she had a relationship with him was real. The story of little Xuema was also real. And most importantly, what Mother Earth said about gods and devils not being able to love each other, gods and devils not being able to coexist, this so-called heavenly Tao was also false. Otherwise, with Shenjuli's intelligence, there was no way he wouldn't know. Where did this rule come from? Or perhaps there was no such rule at all. Mother Earth lied? But that woman clearly swore at that time. And it didn't seem like she was lying. Maybe after he recovered from his injuries, he would go and find Mother Earth again. Even if he had to force her, he would force her to tell him the truth about what happened 50,000 years ago. Strange, how did he travel back in time to 50,000 years in a row? And every time, it was in this palace. Was there something special about this palace? 100 thoughts flashed through Ning Xuema's mind. She couldn't lie down anymore, so she simply put on her clothes and got out of bed. Her body was also very weak. She staggered when she got down, and the wounds on her body hurt faintly. She closed her eyes and rested for a while before starting to get busy in the hall. She used to be a special agent, and searching for things was her forte. As long as there was even the slightest abnormality in this hall, she would be able to find it. However, no, she did not find anything. The only thing she felt was that this hall was cooler than other places, and Shenjuli's aura was slightly heavier. Ning Xuema was actually a little absent-minded during the process of searching. It was too similar. The layout of this hall was too similar to what it was 50,000 years ago. Even the furniture had not been changed. The screen, the light blue bed curtain, and the vase painted with mandala flowers. Chapter 1885. The screen, the light blue bed curtains, and the vase with mandala flowers. Everything was so familiar. It was as if the 50,000 years were just a waste of time. There was no trace left in this hall at all. Even the quilt on the big bed was like the quilt in the past. The second time she had sex with Shunjuli was on this big bed. She felt as if there was boiling water in her heart. That time was just a dream to her. Who would have thought that there was a gap of 50,000 years in between? Now, everything was there except for him. After all, she had just woken up after being dead for 3 days. Her body was still very tired, but she did not feel sleepy. She recalled the time travel journey again. At the last moment, she wanted to say that she came from 50,000 years in the future. However, her soul left her body and traveled back in time. Was it a coincidence? Or was it something that she could not say? She left just like that. Did her body faint or return to her 50,000 years in the past? Would Shunjuli notice it? What would he do? Thousands of questions were hovering in her mind. She was having a headache from thinking too much. She simply covered herself with the quilt and went to sleep. Her eyes fell on the quilt again. She clearly remembered that she was lying in the same bed with Shunjuli until dawn. Now, there were only her and little Nianma in the quilt. There seemed to be a soft part of her heart that was suddenly hit by someone. The pain was unbearable. The saddest thing was that things had changed. She closed her eyes again. If she had a dream, would she travel back in time and see him again? With this beautiful fantasy in mind, she fell asleep in a daze. In fact, not only did she not dream of Shunjuli that night, but she also did not dream of him for the next 4 or 5 days. It was drizzling. The pitter-patter of light rain weaved into a curtain of rain, making the world hazy. The sound of a flute came from afar and echoed in the drizzling night. Ning Xuema frowned slightly. These days Luo Jiuchen had been playing the flute for half a day. To be honest, the sound of the flute was really good. His skill was comparable to that of the legendary Xiaoshi, who could play the flute to attract phoenixes. Fortunately, no birds or beasts could enter the Fantion Palace by themselves. Otherwise, his flute music might have attracted a phoenix. Even if he couldn't attract a phoenix, he could at least attract a peacock. Ning Xuema felt that his flute sound was vaguely familiar, but she couldn't remember where she had heard it before. Her memory was amazing, and she had the memories of 3 lifetimes. However, in these 3 lifetimes, there was no memory of this flute. Then, when did she hear it? It couldn't be the prenatal music she heard in her mother's womb, right? Every time she heard this music, she felt a little irritated. Now in this boundless rainy night, hearing his sorrowful flute music made her even more irritated. Little Nianma was studying. He was also annoyed when he heard that. He covered his ears and complained. Isn't this person annoying? You brag about it every day as if you're mourning. Ning Xuema touched his head. Mother, let's go out and have a look. Little Nianma pulled the corner of her clothes. Mother, this person is an old fox. Don't be fooled by him. Ning Xuema chuckled and flicked his head. Of course not. Who do you think your mother is? I will never be fooled by him. She turned and walked out. She also set up a soundproof wizardry barrier in the room to prevent the sound of the flute from disturbing her son. Chapter 1886. It was drizzling. In the small pavilion, Luo Jiuchen was leaning against the railing. The sound of the flute was long and lingering, as if it was telling the sorrow of parting. He stood there like this, looking like a fallen flower, standing alone, and a pair of swallows flying in the rain. Ning Xuema did not appreciate it. She landed outside the pavilion and looked at him with her arms crossed. When the sound of the flute stopped, Luo Jiuchen's eyes were fixed on Ning Xuema. Imo, is my flute sound good? It is very good. It is so noisy that Nianma can't study hard. Ning Xuema laughed. However, I would like to advise you. After all, you are only a guest in the Fantion Palace. It is not good for the guest to always disturb the host. Nianma and I do not like the sound of the flute. If you want to play it, you can go somewhere else. Luo Jiuchen looked at her. In the rainy night, his eyes were a little deep. Imo, don't you think that the sound of the flute is very familiar? You used to love listening to this flute. Ning Xuema's heart skipped a beat. She had recovered the memory of the Devil Master, but it was still in the dream. She did not know what happened after that. Perhaps she could take this opportunity to ask more questions. Perhaps she could get some information. She smiled faintly. The past is not the present. People's preferences change. It has been too long, and too many things have happened. Forgive me for my poor memory. I can't remember some things clearly. By the way, when have I heard the sound of your flute? When you were a child. No, when you were still in the stone egg. IMO, you were actually hatched by me. Luo Jiochen's eyes were bright. Damn it, it was really prenatal music. She raised her eyebrows and looked at him. Go on. Luo Jiochen sighed softly. More than 50,000 years ago, I accidentally found a stone egg in the mountains and recognized it as a natural spiritual object. But at that time, you were targeted by a snake and almost fell into its stomach. It was I who saved you from the snake's mouth and placed you in a place with rich spiritual power to make it easier for you to hatch. At that time, I was afraid that you would be bored, so I played the flute by your side every day. Every time you heard it, you would let the eggshell light up to match my rhythm. You were very obedient. Later, I had to leave for a period of time, and when I came back, I couldn't find you anymore. He seemed to be immersed in ancient memories as he slowly recounted. Ning Xuema looked at him and didn't say anything. It turned out that she was indebted to this person for hatching her. But he had also plotted against her, causing her to almost lose her life. With this, they could be considered even. IMO, I fell in love with you at first sight. I've been looking for you all this time. He smiled at her again, his eyes full of affection. Love at first sight for an egg. Then his taste was really strange. This person was a smiling tiger. You would never be able to guess what he said was true, and what he said was false. He smiled like a magnanimous immortal, but the things he did were completely different. These days, his gentle offensive towards her was very obvious. When she was bedridden, not only did he come to visit her every day and talk to her, but he also brought her all kinds of nutritional products and all kinds of rare fruits to nourish her body. In order to get information from him, Ning Xuema also tried to talk to him. However, this person was really an old fox. His words were watertight. Ning Xuema didn't get any valuable information from him after asking several times, so she was too lazy to deal with him. When Ning Xuema heard him say love at first sight, she smiled slightly. Your Excellency's words are a bit untrue. This is the first time I've heard of someone falling in love with an egg at first sight. Chapter 1887. When Ning Xuema heard him say love at first sight, she smiled slightly. Your Excellency's words are a bit untrue. This is the first time I've heard of someone falling in love with an egg at first sight. Taking a step back, if you really did fall in love with me at first sight, why did you harm me in the sea? Why did you drug me? Luo Jiochen's eyes deepened, and there seemed to be a dark light flickering in his eyes. After a while, he smiled and said in a gentle voice, IMO, I like you, but at that time, you only had Xin Julie in your heart. That's why I drugged you. I wanted to get you. He saw that Ning Xuema's expression was not good, and then sighed. I also know that I used the wrong method, so I've always wanted to make it up to you. He was lying. Ning Xuema did not believe that he would come up with such a seemingly legitimate, but actually fabricated reason. This lousy reason could fool the inexperienced little Xuema. But to fool Ning Xuema, he was fooling a fool. Ning Xuema pursed her lips and smiled. She tilted her head and looked at him. I don't believe it. You want to use me to scheme against Shinjuli, right? Luo Jiochen's expression changed. How do I scheme against him? Ning Xuema blinked her eyes. The poison you gave me can't be neutralized with ordinary antidotes. Aside from using the matter between a man and a woman to neutralize it, there should be other special methods to neutralize it. For example, using divine power or something like that. At that time, I wasn't tall enough, so it wasn't suitable for the matter between a man and a woman. You also know Shenjuli's character, so he wouldn't use the most direct method. He could only use special methods to cure it. You wanted to use Shenjuli's divine power, right? Luo Jiochen's fingers held the flute, and he looked her up and down. He sighed softly. Imo, it seems that you really do remember. In fact, I drugged you because I wanted to get you, but I accidentally let Shenjuli beat me to it. That day, he used a special method to save you. It did consume a lot of divine power, but that was not my original intention. Later, I did not know that he had used that method in the battle with him. After all, after he cured you, he expelled you from the Fanteon Palace. You were crying so hard that I thought you were wronged and felt indignant. So I injured him in that battle. Ning Xuema's heart skipped a beat. What Luo Jiuchen said was different from what she had seen and experienced in her dream. If she hadn't transmigrated to replace little Xuema, she reckoned that Shen Juli would have to expend a lot of divine power to cure her poison. And because of this, he lost to Luo Jiuchen. However, she had already replaced little Xuema and had slept with the Almighty. She had also detoxified the poison in his body. Shen Juli should not need to waste any more of his divine power. Did that mean that the outcome of the battle between him and Luo Jiuchen had changed? Did he change something that happened 50,000 years ago? She calmly leaned against the pillar and asked, "What happened after that?" Luo Jiuchen's eyes fell on her. "You forgot what happened after that." Ning Xuema gently flipped her hair. "It's been too long. I forgot most of it. Tell me, maybe I'll remember everything." Luo Jiuchen walked to her side. "IMO, the past is the past. Why are you still talking about it? You should learn to look forward." Ning Xuema looked at him sideways. "What do you mean?" Luo Jiuchen raised his hand to stroke her hair. Ning Xuema took a step back to avoid him. He sighed softly. "Shen Juli has disappeared. He will never appear again. And you still have a long time. Are you going to be alone for the rest of your life? Why don't you marry me? I've always liked you." Chapter 1888. Luo Jiuchen raised his hand to stroke her hair, but Ning Xuema took a step back to avoid him. He sighed softly. "Shen Juli has disappeared, and he will never appear again. You still have a long life ahead of you. Are you going to be alone for the rest of your life? Why don't you marry me? I've always liked you, and you actually like me too. You were just blinded by Shen Juli for a while. You and I should be a proper couple." Not only did this bastard want to take Shen Juli's position as a god, but he also wanted to take his wife. Ning Xuema said lightly, "Since you are a god, how noble is your identity? What kind of girl can't you have? Why care about a widow?" "IMO, I don't care that you were with him before, nor do I care about that child. If you are willing, I will raise that child as my own son. I like you, so will you marry me?" Luo Jiuchen took another step forward and raised his hand to pull her. Ning Xuema's heart was filled with anger, but she didn't show it on her face. She took another step back. Luo Jiuchen's figure flashed slightly, and in the blink of an eye, he was behind her. He raised his hand and put it around her shoulder. "IMO, can't you see my feelings for you?" His movements were extremely fast and overbearing. Ning Xuema was seriously injured and hadn't recovered yet, so she didn't avoid him and was hugged by him. There was a faint fragrance on his body, which was different from the cold fragrance on Shen Juli's body. His fragrance was slightly warm, which seemed to be able to let people down their guard and accept him. Ning Xuema struggled, but he seemed to be determined to win. He held her tighter and simply put an arm around her waist. "IMO, I've waited for more than 50,000 years. Isn't this infatuation enough?" His voice seemed to have the power to bewitch people and make them submit to him. Ning Xuema looked up at him and sneered. "You've waited for me for more than 50,000 years? I don't believe it. You've only been imprisoned for 50,000 years. I've been thinking about you for the past 50,000 years," Luo Jiuchen said affectionately. He looked at her in his arms. Very good. She actually didn't have any intention of struggling. The woman in his arms had a pair of watery eyes. Although her small mouth was still sickly pale, the shape of her lips was excellent. When she pursed her lips slightly, he wanted to pry them open and taste her beauty. Luo Jiuchen's eyes darkened, and his body heated up. He lowered his head and kissed her on the lips. A soft finger pressed against his lips, preventing him from approaching. Ning Xuema glared at him. "Why are you in such a hurry? Can't we talk nicely?" She glanced at him with a hint of affection. It could be said that her eyes were like silk, and she was more delicate than a flower. Luo Jiuchen's heart trembled. He hugged her tighter, and his handsome face was closer to her. "Didn't we make it clear?" "What else do you want to hear?" Ning Xuema pouted. But I still don't know your true identity. You keep saying that you have feelings for me, but you're so mysterious. After all, Ning Xuema used to be a special agent. One of the special agent's skills was to use seduction to seduce people into telling the truth, in order to get the information they wanted. Ning Xuema didn't use this easily, but once she used it, few men could resist her charm. She was now the devil master, and had the ability to seduce people. Once she used the combination of the two, it could be said that even gods and ghosts couldn't resist her. After all, Luo Jiuchen didn't know her well. In his mind, she was still the innocent little girl from 50,000 years ago. Chapter 1889. After all, Luo Jiuchen didn't know much about her now. His impression of her was still that of a simple little girl who hadn't grown up 50,000 years ago. In an instant, he fell into Ning Xuema's trap. His mind rippled, and he had an impulse to give her his heart. It turns out that you are worried about me. In fact, it doesn't matter if I tell you. There used to be a god of creation in this world. The god of creation created everything in the world, and all living beings in the 6 realms. He finally told her all about his life experience. It turned out that there was also the creation of heaven and earth in this world. The so-called god of creation was a bit similar to Pangu in Chinese mythology. After he created heaven and earth, he died of exhaustion. All kinds of organs in his body transformed everything in the world, and all living beings in the 6 realms. Because it was just the beginning of the chaos, there was no distinction between good and evil. All living beings in the 6 realms were in the stage of ignorance and instinct. Every day they fought for territory. The 6 realms were in chaos, and blood flowed like rivers. There were no rules, just like a country couldn't have no laws to restrain its people. Heaven and earth urgently needed a rule to restrain all living beings in the 6 realms. So there was the way of heaven. The way of heaven was the rule of heaven and earth. If all living beings in the 6 realms violated the way of heaven, they would be punished by the way of heaven. Since there was the way of heaven, there was also the guardian and executor of the way of heaven. Thus there was the emergence of God. There could only be one God. It was unknown whether something had gone wrong with heaven and earth, or whether heaven and earth were afraid that one person would be too strong, or perhaps they wanted the gods to have competitors. Heaven and earth naturally gave birth to a main god, and after a few years, another sub-god was born. The master god was Shenjiuli, and the master god was Luo Jiuchen. If the master god died, the master god could be promoted to the master god and become the new guardian of the way of heaven. Moreover, the master god could also challenge the master god. If the master god wanted to abide by the way of heaven, he had to accept the challenge. Of course, when Luo Jiuchen told her about his life experience, he didn't say anything about the master god and the master god. He meant that there were 2 gods in the world, and the 2 gods could compete for the position. Luo Jiuchen didn't want to fight for power. He wanted to be free in the 6 realms, so he gave the position of the master god to Shenjiuli. Although he spoke in a dignified manner, Ning Xuema sneered in her heart. Although she didn't have much contact with Luo Jiuchen, she had a general understanding of his temperament. Even a ghost wouldn't believe that he wasn't ambitious. 50,000 years ago, in order to fight for the position of the chief god, he must have caused a lot of trouble for Shenjiuli, and used a lot of underhanded means. For example, he drugged little Xuema, and wanted to cause Shenjiuli to lose a lot of his power. This was a good example. As for the rest, Ning Xuema hadn't recovered her memories from that time, so she naturally didn't know. However, she could roughly deduce it. It seemed that the appearance of little Xuema was an opportunity for Luo Jiuchen to plot against Shenjiuli frequently. This person's kung fu was not much worse than Shenjiuli's. If Shenjiuli lost half of his power to save little Xuema, he would definitely not be Luo Jiuchen's opponent. It was not surprising that he failed and was injured. However, she didn't know what happened later that made Shenjiuli lock Luo Jiuchen in the Tiandao Bell. Little Xuema sacrificed herself to seal Zisha, and Shenjiuli went to other continents. After Luo Jiuchen finished talking about his life experience, his eyes focused on Ning Xuema's face. IMO. I have always disdained to fight for the position of the Master God with Shunjuli, but I couldn't bear to let you be hurt, so I had to fight for it with him. Now that he has disappeared, there can only be one Master God in this world, so he won't come back no matter what. You have to think about your own happiness. You are the Devil Lord, and I am the Master God. You and I are a match made in heaven. Chapter 1890. He was handsome, and he wasn't inferior to Shunjuli. Especially his eyes, they were like flowing waves, rippling with deep affection. When such a man spoke gently to someone, it was hard to resist his charm. Ning Xuema bit her lips, and seemed to have been bewitched by him. She was slightly moved, but she still struggled to say, "No way, right? Didn't they say that the love of gods and devils is the calamity of the 6 realms? It will cause the purple fiend to explode." Shunjuli, his soul was scattered because of this. If you also become a god, our love will still trigger the calamity of heaven and earth. Therefore, we definitely can't. Luo Jiochen's smiling eyes revealed a hint of astonishment. The love of gods and devils is the calamity of the 6 realms? Who said so? How can I not know? Ning Xuema's heart stirred, and she immediately sold out Heavenly Tao. It's Heavenly Tao. It's said that Heavenly Tao has a warning. Luo Jiuchen frowned slightly. I don't believe it. Could it be Shunjuli who told you? Ning Xuema sighed gently and sold Mother Earth out. It's Mother Earth. She said she saw the warning of Heavenly Tao. Luo Jiuchen chuckled. Only the guardian of Heavenly Tao can understand the Heavenly Tao stone. Even if that Mother Earth saw it, she wouldn't understand, so she must be lying. But she didn't look like she was lying. Maybe the Heavenly Tao stone really did have such a warning. Therefore, I can't take this risk. Ning Xuema shook her head. Luo Jiochen's gaze flickered slightly, and he suddenly grabbed her slender waist. Let's go. I'll bring you to see the Heavenly Tao stone. She had to admit that this Luo Jiochen's skills were truly high. When he said this, he was still in the small pavilion beside the lake, but when he finished speaking, he had already brought Ning Xuema to the peak of the single stone peak. It was drizzling, and he casually conjured an umbrella to cover the two of them. Ning Xuema pushed the umbrella and said with a smile that wasn't a smile, "With our skills, why do we need an umbrella?" Luo Jiuchen smiled. "Imo, don't you think this is more romantic?" Before he could finish, he felt a sharp pain in his foot. It was as if he had been stabbed by an awl. He froze, and Ning Xuema took the opportunity to escape from his embrace. Luo Jiochen's eyes fell on her feet. He didn't know when she had put on a pair of strange shoes on her slender feet. The heels were high and sharp. The pain on his feet just now was caused by her stepping on such heels. The place where she had stepped on was burning with pain. He narrowed his eyes and shivered. "Imo, what do you mean by this?" Ning Xuema swayed gracefully in her high heels. With an innocent look on her face, she said, "These are new shoes that I invented. That's why I'm wearing it for you to see." "Why? You don't like it?" She lowered her eyes slightly and looked a little aggrieved. "So you can't even accept my shoes, then?" The beauty was angry, and when she walked in such shoes, she did have a kind of enchanting style. Her face was innocent, and she had a kind of frightening charm. Luo Jiochen's mind suddenly swayed, and he naturally didn't blame her. "I see. Imo, you look very good in these shoes. I like it very much." He wanted to hug Ning Xuema's slender waist again, but Ning Xuema turned her body and avoided his arm. She glared at him. "Don't always touch me. We don't know if we can fall in love yet. I don't want you to take advantage of me for nothing. Besides, my shoes look good, but it's easy to step on people, so you should stay away from me." Chapter 1891. After all, Luo Jiochen was an old fox. He knew that Ning Xuema was thinking of ways to reject him. If she tried to force him, he would most likely force her to submit. However, looking at her coquettish and angry appearance, he was unable to use any of his methods. Forget it. He had plenty of time to slowly grind with her. He wasn't in a hurry. He also wanted to use his charm to break her heart and make her truly his. Ning Xuema had already begun to wander around the peak. "Didn't you want to see the Heavenly Tao stone? Where is it? Why can't I see it?" Luo Jiochen smiled slightly. I'll make it appear now. He formed an insignia with his fingers. A purple light emitted from his fingertips and circled around the peak. When the purple light dissipated, a snow-white boulder appeared. Ning Xuema's gaze fell on the boulder. She was no stranger to this boulder. She had seen it before when she was with Shen Juli in her dream. So this was the Heavenly Tao Stone. Shen Juli was the guardian of the Heavenly Tao Stone. He could understand the warning on the Heavenly Tao Stone. When he said that there was no such warning as gods and demons falling in love will cause the heavenly tribulation. It really wasn't. Luo Jiuchen sounded proud. Only its guardian can make the Heavenly Tao Stone appear. IMO, do you believe that I'm a god now? Ning Xuema was disdainful. It's just a white boulder. How can you prove that it's the Heavenly Tao Stone? She naturally knew that it was the Heavenly Tao Stone. After all, she saw it 50,000 years ago when she transmigrated. Although Shen Juli didn't explain it to her, she could see that it was unusual. She calmly looked at the Heavenly Tao Stone and found that it seemed to be different from 50,000 years ago. 50,000 years ago it was snow white. There were various characters on it that she couldn't understand. The spiritual energy was so strong that she felt like she was going to fall into it at first glance. But now it was milky white. Although it was shiny, she couldn't see much spiritual energy. She had already walked around it 3 times, but she didn't feel any discomfort. Luo Jiuchen sighed softly. When the first guardian of the Heavenly Tao Stone dies, the Heavenly Tao Stone will automatically close. A second guardian must be qualified to open it again for it to show its spirituality. Then open it, and let me take a look. Luo Jiuchen shook his head. Not yet. I have yet to officially become a guardian, but it will be soon. Ning Xuema yawned. Then let's wait until you become an official guardian. She turned around and flew away from the peak. Luo Jiuchen watched her figure disappear into the night. His eyes flashed and his fingers slowly clenched. This girl has become much smarter. I'm afraid it won't be easy to get her. However, he liked challenges. The more difficult it was to get a woman, the more he wanted to chase after her. That way, he would feel a greater sense of accomplishment after he got her. However, it didn't seem to have much effect if he kept chasing her gently. Perhaps he should use some strong medicine? He took 2 steps forward. Suddenly, he seemed to remember something and stopped. This girl's character had always been amenable to coaxing, but not coercion. If he pushed her too hard, he was afraid that she would fight to the death with him. That would not be worth the loss. Moreover, looking at her current appearance, she seemed to have loosened up. If he pushed her too hard, he might mess things up. Forget it. I'll wait a few more days. Chapter 1892. He looked at the white stone again. If he wanted to be the guardian of the Heavenly Law Stone, he had to fulfill the 3 conditions set by Xin Nianma. Now he had fulfilled 2 of the 3 conditions, but the little thing still refused to tell him the 3rd one. It was a headache for him. If it were not for the rule that he could not force the person who set him free, he would have used harsh means to force the little thing to do so. The next few days were still peaceful. Ning Xuema's injuries were mostly healed. In the past few days, Luo Jiuchen was still trying his best to please her. Ning Xuema pretended to be polite to him and kept a distance between them. She didn't want him to stake everything on a desperate attempt, but she also didn't want him to take advantage of her. That night, she decided to sleep in the side chamber. She still had a sliver of hope in her heart and wanted to continue that dream. However, she did not know what was wrong. She did not have the dream again. The more contact she had with Luo Jiuchen, the more frightened Ning Xuema was. Luo Jiuchen's kung fu was unfathomable. If Shen Juli's kung fu could be compared to the Pacific Ocean, then Luo Jiuchen's kung fu could be compared to the Atlantic Ocean. When she was at her peak, her kung fu could only be compared to the Arctic Ocean. Even if she wasn't injured, she wouldn't be this person's match if they really fought. She would most likely be at a disadvantage. Luo Jiuchen probably thought of this, so he was not afraid that she would deliberately delay her recovery. However, this person's patience seemed to be getting less and less. Every time he saw her, his eyes were getting hotter and hotter. Even little Nianma could see that something was wrong. Once, the little guy jumped out and blocked Luo Jiuchen's eyes. He scolded him sternly. Don't look at my mother like that. Luo Jiochen's self-control was really good. He waved his fan and smiled. Little Nianma, is this the third condition you have for me? Ning Xuema was afraid that her son would agree to it out of anger. She immediately hugged her son in her arms and stuffed an apple into his mouth. Then she smiled and said, "You are joking. You are the guardian of the future. Of course, such a condition can't be ignored. Sir, please don't mislead the child. Otherwise, it will bring shame to your identity." She easily changed the topic. "Nianma, don't mention the third condition. If he can't fulfill the third condition, he won't be able to regain his status as the guardian of the heavenly Tao. Your father still has hope of coming back. Once he completes the third condition, your father might not be able to come back." Ning Xuema educated her son when they were resting at night. Shen Nianma nodded. "All right, I will not mention it again." Ning Xuema was worried that Luo Jiochen would plot against Nianma when he was asleep, so she did not allow her son to sleep alone. Instead, he rested with her in the side chamber. "Mother, don't tell me you don't want father anymore?" Little Nianma was still worried. After all, he was still young. He always felt that his mother was too polite to Luo Jiochen. Moreover, both of them seemed to get along well. This made him feel a little uneasy for his father. "No, your father will be my mother's husband forever. I will try to make him come back, so that our family of 3 can reunite." Ning Xuema's tone was firm. Little Nianma heaved a sigh of relief and rushed into her arms. "Mother, I miss father." "I miss you too," Ning Xuema silently added in her heart. "Nianma, I will visit Mother Earth again tomorrow. Can you stay at home alone?" Chapter 1893. Mother, what are you going to do with Mother Earth? Mother Earth may know a way to bring your father back. She also knows a lot of things that happened 50,000 years ago. I need to know all these. I will go and ask again. Because of the training these days, Shen Nianma had become more sensible. He nodded his head and said, "Okay. Mother, be careful." After a pause he added, "Mother, don't worry. I will never mention a third condition to that person. I will not mention it even if I am beaten to death." This child was so smart. Ning Xuema could not help but kiss her son on his forehead. "Nianma is so smart. Let's sleep." She raised her hand and closed the clam shell with the luminous pearl. The hall fell into darkness again. Both of them hugged each other and fell asleep. On the window of the hall, a lilac butterfly flew away. In the corridor of the waterside pavilion, Luo Jiochen was leisurely leaning on the pillar and looking at the lake. A butterfly came through the forest and came to a stop on his fingertip. Luo Jiochen pointed at the butterfly, and a faint blue light appeared on the butterfly. A conversation was heard from the butterfly. It was the conversation between Ning Xuema and little Nianma. He listened in silence, and his thin lips slowly curved into a smile after listening to their conversation. Mother Earth knew a lot of things that happened 50,000 years ago. That was great. He also wanted to know something about 50,000 years ago. It was a good opportunity to ask. As for Shenjuli, he was dead. He would never allow that person to come back. It seemed that the girl was really infatuated and still refused to give up. Then he would help her to give up. He had to act before she did. His figure flashed and disappeared into the night. Not long after his figure disappeared, there was a flash of red light in the night. Ning Xuema appeared in the waterside pavilion. She looked at the empty waterside pavilion and the butterfly that had been burned to ashes on the ground. She smiled gently. The mantis catches the cicada, unaware of the oriole behind. Luo Jiochen had used a spell to form a butterfly to eavesdrop on her. How could she not know? She was just going with the flow. Her figure flashed and she disappeared. Deep underground, in Lifefire Palace, the injuries on Mother Earth's body had yet to heal completely. Her body was in pain. It was real pain. It was so painful that she couldn't sleep for days and nights. Naturally, she also hated Ning Xuema, the instigator, to the bone. She wished she could curse that unlucky girl to die a horrible death every day. That night, Mother Earth was regulating her breathing and meditating. Her heart suddenly jumped, and she opened her eyes. The unique gate of the Lifefire Palace was slammed open by a palm strike, as a violet-robed young man entered. The man in purple was extremely beautiful. Mother Earth had seen quite a number of men of the highest quality in her life, but there were very few who were as beautiful as the one in front of her. Only the former venerable sovereign and the little demon who died here could compete with him. More importantly, this person's aura was extremely strong, and his skills were unfathomable. If she didn't open the Lifefire Palace's door herself, even if an atomic bomb was used to blast it open, it might not be able to do so. She didn't expect that this man would be able to do so with a single palm strike. Mother Earth's gaze shrunk, and she sized up that violet-robed young man. She spat out 2 words, "Subgod." That purple-clothed man's smile was cultured and refined, but his actions weren't cultured and refined at all. He pointed the fan in his hand diagonally, and Mother Earth, who was originally rooted to the ground, gave a mournful cry as her entire body was uprooted. This kind of forceful uprooting naturally injured her roots, and many of them were already dripping with fresh blood. Chapter 1894. That wasn't all. A huge brazier suddenly appeared under her body, and there were flames dancing wildly in it. Mother Earth curled up her roots and screamed, "Hey, what are you doing? Let's talk nicely." The purple-clothed man stood with his arms crossed and smiled brightly. "It seems that you do have some skills. You actually saw through my real identity with a single glance. I also want to talk nicely to you, but I'm afraid you won't be honest, and will say some nonsense to fool me. Therefore I'll roast you first. Bear with it, and consider if you're lying or not." Mother Earth was severely injured in the hands of Ning Xuema, and she had less than half of her power left. She was naturally no match for this man in purple now. She, who was so strong, was like a little chick in the hands of this man in purple. She didn't even have the strength to resist. The man in purple had cast an unknown spell on her body, and all of her roots couldn't move freely. It was as if they were tied up, and they slowly fell towards the brazier. This fire wasn't ordinary fire, but a blazing fire that could burn everything. Its temperature was even higher than lava. Amidst Mother Earth's screams, one of her roots seemed to have been ripped apart by someone, and it directly fell into the brazier. With a boom, it burst into flames. These roots were Mother Earth's legs, and being burned like this, she was literally crying for her parents. She hurriedly begged the man in purple for mercy. The man in purple saw that half of the roots were burned, and only then did he ask leisurely, "Who am I?" Mother Earth blurted out, "Subgod." The handsome face of the man in purple sank. "Looks like your eyesight is blurry." With a flick of his finger, a purple light tore apart her second root, and it slowly pulled her towards the brazier. Mother Earth was scared out of her wits, and she finally understood. "Master God, you're the Master God. Pay respects to the Master God." She endured the pain and bowed to the man in purple. The man in purple smiled and accepted it. He seemed to be satisfied with this answer. Not only did he let go of her second root, he even flicked out a blue light to extinguish the flames on her first root. "In that case, I'll ask you a second question. You have to think carefully before answering." Mother Earth nodded repeatedly. "You know what happened over 50,000 years ago?" Mother Earth nodded again. "Then let me ask you, what is the so-called gods and devils can't coexist? And gods and devils in love will definitely attract heavenly tribulation." Mother Earth froze and was slightly troubled. I can't say it, otherwise I will be punished by the heavenly Tao." Fear appeared on her face. "Since the Supreme Divinity is the guardian of the heavenly axiom, you should know how harsh the punishment of the heavenly axiom is." The purple-robed man laughed again. "You are afraid that the heavenly Tao will punish you. Aren't you afraid that I will punish you now?" His smile was too cold, and Mother Earth trembled in fear. However, she still stubbornly closed her eyes and took in a deep breath. "Being tortured by Sire is only temporary, but if I go against the heavenly Tao, I will be tortured for eternity." The purple-robed man sighed softly. "That's right. You're right. You shouldn't have said it. But if you don't tell me, I won't be happy. When I'm unhappy, I want to use some special methods to make myself happy. I hope that Your Excellency's bones are tough enough to resist some of my methods." He spoke so much like a tongue twister, and Mother Earth was slightly dizzy from his twisting. For a moment, she didn't understand what he meant. But soon she understood. Chapter 1895. The fingers of the man in purple were very slender and perfect. His skinning technique was also very perfect. Mother Earth's delicate skin, that she was proud of, was peeled open by his hands, and he tore it off bit by bit. Amidst Mother Earth's ghostly wails and howls, he was still smiling leisurely. I love skinning beauties the most. I didn't expect your skin to be so good at your age. Mother Earth would never have thought that this god's methods would be so cruel. He was even crueler than all the devils. Her blood-curdling screams almost broke through the roof of the palace, but the purple-clothed man peeled it off rather slowly, as if he was embroidering a flower. He peeled it off bit by bit, and even spoke casually, "You have to bear with it. Your beauty skin is too beautiful. I can't bear to tear it even a little, lest I ruin its perfection. That's why I'm peeling it a little slower. Also, you're bleeding too much. I'll use the fire in the basin to roast it." Mother Earth's body trembled like leaves in the rain. She finally opened her mouth without caring about anything. "Stop. Stop. I'll talk. I'll talk." The man in purple seemed to want to continue. "I'm not done yet. It's boring for you to say it now. Why don't you carry it for a while more?" Mother Earth's voice changed. "I'll say it now, I'll say it now. That saying is actually caused by Devil Master Shuama's curse. She was betrayed by the god and cast this curse before she died." The man in purple stopped and sighed. "So that's how it is. This is slightly troublesome. Can this curse be broken?" Mother Earth was simply afraid of his cruel methods. She was afraid he would torture her again, so she just spilled the beans. "It's not easy to break this curse, unless you can reverse time and go back to 50,000 years ago to rewrite the history of that time." The man in purple frowned. "Reverse time? That's impossible. In that case, I can't marry her either?" Mother Earth was stunned. She wanted to say something but stopped. The man in purple immediately sensed her abnormality. "Say it quickly." "I can say it, but I have to ask you to promise me a condition." The man in purple clenched his fists. "I hate it when people haggle the most," Mother Earth hurriedly said. "My condition is very easy for you to fulfill. As long as you can do it, I'll tell you everything I know." "All right, tell me about it first." "This queen does not wish to be punished by the heavenly Tao. After this queen is done speaking, I request that your excellency use divine arts to kill this queen completely and disperse my soul completely. Only a god can do that." The purple-robed man's eyes turned slightly, and he happily replied, "All right. I promise you." Only then did Mother Earth say what she wanted to say. That Devil Master Shuama's curse back then was mainly targeted at the previous god, Shenjiuli. She was afraid that she would fall in love with him after reincarnating, so she wrote, "Never love a god in all lifetimes. Love will die. If you become a demon again and love the supreme divinity wrongly, you will trigger the divine punishment and bury the entire 6 realms with you. If you want to seal Zisha, you have to sacrifice a god and a demon. Only one of the two is left. The person sacrificing himself will be completely destroyed and will never be reincarnated." The purple-robed man's eyes lit up. "You're saying that her curse is only targeted at Shinjuli? Then it should be fine for her to marry me." Mother Earth took a deep breath. "That should be the case." The purple-robed man gave it some thought and asked again, "Do you have a way to reverse time?" Mother Earth looked at him carefully and shook her head. "No." Chapter 1896. The man in purple asked again, "If someone can travel back in time and go back to 50,000 years ago to change history, what will happen?" Mother Earth shook her head. "I don't know. If the change is not too drastic, it will be fine. If the change is too drastic, the things that happen later will not happen again. The 6 realms will be reshuffled, and the people or things that shouldn't be there will disappear automatically." The man in purple finally smiled. This time it was a satisfied smile. "That's great." Initially, he was worried that Ning Shuama would have the ability to travel back in time to change history. Now he was not afraid anymore. She still had little Nianma. If the change was too drastic, Everything would disappear, including little Nianma. She couldn't bear it. Initially, he felt that the little guy was an eyesore, but now, he felt that the little guy's existence was a weight in his hands. He already knew what he wanted to know. The man in purple smiled, and gently reattached the peeled skin to Mother Earth. This action naturally made Mother Earth howl a few times. He smiled gently. I always have a tender heart for women. This skin can still grow back after I reattach it to you. It's just that it hurts a little. Mother Earth trembled violently. Please keep your promise and give me a quick death. Why are you in such a hurry? Since I have promised you, I won't go back on my words. However, I still have some use for you, so I have to let you live for a few more days. If Mother Earth could set up the lightning, she would directly strike this devil-like sub-god to death. The man in purple continued. Tomorrow or the day after, Devil Master Shuama will come again. She will probably ask you some questions. If she asks about whether Shinjuli can be resurrected, make her as desperate as possible. He gave her a lot of instructions. Although Mother Earth hated him, she had to listen to him. She nodded repeatedly and agreed. The purple-clothed man added, Don't try to play tricks on me. I'll follow her quietly tomorrow. If you say something you shouldn't say. Mother Earth kowtowed repeatedly, and said that she wouldn't dare to. The man in purple was indeed very capable. Not only did he reattach Mother Earth's skin, but he also reattached her burned roots. When he was done, Mother Earth looked the same as before. He couldn't tell that she had been tortured at all. The purple-clothed man circled around her 2 more times, and found that there were no more flaws. Only then did he turn around and leave. Mother Earth looked at his back view disappearing outside the door, and a sinister look appeared in her eyes. After a while, she tilted her head and listened carefully. She heard that the fiend had indeed left her territory. She could even feel the trace of his departure. She let out a long sigh of relief and sneered in a low voice. Demon Master Shuama's curse was not to fall in love with any god, not just Shinjuli. If you really marry her, it will definitely be a disaster. Haha. She laughed maniacally. She did not care whether the 6 realms would experience a catastrophe or not. She was about to die anyway. Although the purple-clothed man had healed her, that was only on the surface. Her entire body was still in excruciating pain. How he wished he could kill himself. However, her body also had an abnormal problem. She was unable to kill herself, and could only rely on external forces. However, if it wasn't for the gods, other people could only kill her body. Her soul would still be alive. At first, she was very glad that she had this skill, but now she hated it very much. Otherwise, she wouldn't have to be controlled by that fiend even in death. She had never suffered such a huge loss in her life. Back then, when the Devil Master came, he didn't use such cruel methods to torture her. He even made her offend the heavenly Tao completely. She hated that purple-clothed man so much that she gritted her teeth. But there was nothing she could do. She was trembling and laughing when a voice suddenly sounded out from behind her. This person caused you so much trouble. Do you want revenge? Do you want to cooperate with me? Chapter 1897. Mother Earth suddenly turned back and was stunned. Behind her, a woman in red floated in the air. Shuama Devil Master. Mother Earth had suffered under Ning Shuama before, so it wasn't easy for Ning Shuama to gain her trust with just a few words. In the beginning, Mother Earth even suspected that Ning Shuama was a spy sent by the god that time to sound her out. Therefore, she was on her guard, and made up her mind not to say anything. Ning Shuama didn't waste time talking to her. After she appeared, she started to treat Mother Earth's injuries. Her medical expertise could be considered to have reached perfection. Mother Earth was originally in so much pain that she was about to go crazy. But after her treatment, the pain lessened by quite a bit. At least it was within a tolerable range. Ning Shuama then said a few words to dispel half of Mother Earth's doubts. Have you heard of the saying, the enemy of my enemy is my friend? The one I like is Shenjuli, and I want him to come back. However, after this person ascends to the position of a god, my husband is destined to never come back. Therefore, I have to kill him no matter what. Do you know a way to kill him? Or where is his weakness? Mother Earth's abilities might not be the highest, but her ability to gather information was still top-notch. She knew the general situation of Ning Xuema and Shen Juli in this world. She also understood the relationship between Ning Xuema and Shen Juli very well. Hearing Ning Xuema say this, she believed her about 70 to 80%. The two of them conversed for a while more, and Mother Earth stretched all her roots out to the periphery of Lifire Palace. After confirming that Luo Jiuchen wasn't eavesdropping outside, she was slightly at ease. She naturally hated Luo Jiuchen so much that she wanted to kill him, but it was a pity she couldn't get out and couldn't take revenge. Now that Ning Xuema asked, she had to tell her. Ning Xuema's appearance this time was mainly to ask Mother Earth 3 questions. 1 was Xuema's weakness, 2 was the general grudge between Xuema and Shen Juli 50,000 years ago, and 3 was the path of time travel. It had to be said that Mother Earth was indeed someone who had lived for God knows how many tens of thousands of years. She was extraordinarily knowledgeable. Other than the 3rd question that she couldn't give Ning Xuema a clear answer. The first 2 questions were rather clear. As a reward, Ning Xuema left behind a few powerful painkillers for her. These painkillers were 10 times more effective than modern painkillers like Dolantin. After Mother Earth ate 1 pill, the burning pain in her body finally disappeared. She was very satisfied. She had already violated the heavenly Tao and couldn't live anymore. She only wanted to live comfortably until the day her soul dissipated. As for other things, they weren't important anymore. The two of them decided on the show they were going to perform when she returned the next day. Who would have thought that 2 people who were originally enemies would join hands one day? When Ning Xuema left, he felt a little rueful. There were no eternal enemies, and sometimes, enemies could become allies. The next day, Ning Xuema came again as expected and performed a show with Mother Earth. Ning Xuema was very good at acting, and Mother Earth also cooperated seamlessly, successfully fooling the eyes of Luo Jiuchen, who had followed her secretly. During this show, Mother Earth told her that Shen Juli had disappeared and would never return. She advised her not to struggle needlessly and to make other plans. She also told her that gods and devils couldn't love each other meant that she and Shen Juli couldn't love each other for eternity. If they loved each other, they would be punished by the heavens. However, if they married other gods, they wouldn't have to worry about this. All of these conversations made Luo Jiuchen very satisfied. Chapter 1898. He watched as Ning Xuema walked away in a daze, after asking a few questions. His lips curled up slightly. He was a man of his words when he appeared in front of Mother Earth. Finally he gave Mother Earth a quick death and set her free. At the foot of Mount Jiai, Ning Xuema stood there and looked up at the mountain peak in a daze. After a while, she took out a few offerings and placed them on the ground. Shen Juli, are you really not coming back? How can you be so cruel? What about Nianma and I? Her tears fell like rain, and she knelt there for a long time. There was a cracking sound behind her, and Ning Xuema suddenly turned around. Who is it? A figure in purple appeared, and his eyes were full of love. Mo. When Ning Xuema saw him, her eyes were suspicious. What are you doing here? Are you following me? When she said the last 4 words, her voice was a little harsh. Luo Jiuchen sighed softly. I couldn't find you in Fantian Palace, so I came down to look for you. I thought you were here. Ning Xuema still had 2 drops of tears in the corner of her eyes, and she seemed to not believe what he said. Have you been following me since I left the palace? Suddenly she seemed to have thought of something, and her face changed. She blurted out, then what about Mother Earth and I? She suddenly seemed to realize that she had said something wrong, so she stopped talking. Luo Jiuchen looked at her, and saw that her pretty face was unusually pale. She indeed looked like she had suffered a blow, and it didn't look like she was faking it. Initially, he was a little suspicious about the meeting between Ning Xuema and Mother Earth, but when he saw her expression at this moment, his suspicion disappeared without a trace. He took a step forward. I am just worried about you. Looking at Ning Xuema's teary eyes, he couldn't help but sigh. Alright, I admit it. When you left the palace, I was already aware of it. I was afraid that you would take things too hard, so I followed behind you. However, I was only following you in secret to protect you from harm. After all, this underground journey is very dangerous. I was worried about letting you go alone." Ning Xuema pursed her lips. She was unhappy in her heart, so her words were blunt. "In any case, I'm still the Devil Master. This underground trip won't be a problem for me. Why would I need your help? I hate it when people follow me." The more she threw a tantrum, the more it seemed like a normal reaction, so Luo Jiuchen was more relieved. He didn't argue with her. I know you're in a bad mood. Why don't I take you out for a drink?" At this moment Ning Xuema. "Not interested. You want to take advantage of me?" Luo Jiuchen. He didn't know whether to laugh or cry. "You think too much of me, don't you? If I want a woman, I need her to be willing. Only then will it be interesting." Ning Xuema gave him a glance. "Then remember what you said. Don't follow me. I want to be alone." She flew away and disappeared in the blink of an eye. Luo Jiuchen stood on the spot and looked at her disappearing figure. He shook his head slightly and finally relaxed. When a person is sad and hopeless to the extreme, they would become irritable and speak harshly to everyone. Ning Xuema's current actions were in line with this point. Luo Jiuchen had Sima Yi's personality. He was suspicious by nature and liked to seek confirmation from many people, afraid of being tricked by others. That was why he had appeared to test Ning Xuema's reaction. Ning Xuema's reaction made him very satisfied, and he no longer suspected that Mother Earth was playing tricks on him. Chapter 1899. As for Xuema, he believed that he would deal with her forever and ever. It was just a matter of time. He raised his head to look at the mountain where Shen Juli was buried, and his lips curled into a smile. "Shen Juli, you must have never thought that this day would come, right? Your god position is mine, your wife will also be mine. Everything about you will be mine. If you know this in the underworld, despair to your heart's content." He opened his hand towards the midday sun, and Mother Earth's soul screamed in his palm. She tossed and turned in pain. You said you could make my soul scatter." Luo Jiuchen narrowed his eyes and looked at his palm that was shining on by the sun. It was as if it had been poured into sulfuric acid, and his voice was gentle. "Your soul can also scatter under the sun. I'm not lying to you. You need to use divine power." That soul tossed and turned even more violently. Luo Jiuchen gave a gorgeous smile. "If I can use the simplest method, why would I waste divine power? Just bear with it, and you will be free. Furthermore, only by dying like this can the next Mother Earth be born, and only then will this continent not be overturned." He wouldn't waste divine power on someone unrelated to him. Psychokinesis, inner energy, and stamina could all be regenerated very quickly, but divine power was extremely hard to regenerate. Every time it was used, it couldn't be recovered even after 1,000 years. What Mother Earth's soul was most afraid of was being exposed to the sun. To it, this kind of exposure to the sun was equivalent to being thrown into a pan of oil. She struggled and wailed in his palm for a long time before slowly dissipating. "You will receive your retribution." This was what Mother Earth said before she completely dissipated. When she said this, she even smiled, and that smile made the heart of Luo Jiuchen, who was always ruthless, tighten. He wanted to ask her again, but she had already scattered with the sun. Her soul had completely scattered. Luo Jiuchen stood on the spot for a moment, and he shook his head. When a person was tortured to death, they would usually say a few ruthless words. Mother Earth's ruthless words could be said to be common. If he didn't test Ning Xuema again, he might have been suspicious. But now, there was no need for him to take this to heart. Everything was under his control. In this world, the only person he was afraid of was Shen Juli. Now that Shen Juli's soul had dissipated, he was the strongest person in this world. There was no need for him to have any scruples. As for Xuema, she was a rose with thorns. Sooner or later, he would pull out all the thorns on her body and hold her in his hands. Demon Master, in this world only she was worthy of him. He would make her his god empress. The more he thought about it, the happier he became. The depression of being locked up for 50,000 years had finally dissipated. red gauze curtains and festive decorations. This was the secret room that Shenjuli had set up as a bridal chamber. Other than the two of them, no one else knew about it. And now, this place had become Ning Xuema's medicine refining place. Yes, alchemy. Mother Earth told her that Luo Jiuchen was a sub-god after all, so he couldn't be killed easily, unless the purple fiend erupted again and made him willing to be a sacrifice. It was impossible to kill him completely with human strength. They could only seal him. It wasn't easy to seal him, and they had to severely injure him. However, this person wasn't much different from a god. It was hard to even break a hole in his body, let alone severely injure him. However, he had one more flaw compared to a true master god. He was afraid of heavenly water poison. As long as this poison was smeared on a weapon and slashed on his body, it could injure him and break his invulnerability spell. Chapter 1900. This was the only way to deal with him. However, the poison of heavenly water was extremely difficult to make. It required a level 9 alchemy skill, but her skill was only at level 7. Even if she had the materials, she could not make it in such a short time. Moreover, the materials needed to make this thing were very complicated. It required 49 of the most difficult herbs in the world to find. In this secret chamber, there were already 46 herbs, but 3 of the most important ones were still missing. Because they needed to be made separately, Ning Xuema planned to make these 46 herbs together first. Then she would take Nianma to find the other 3 herbs. The fire in the alchemy furnace was burning fiercely, and it reflected her shining eyes. It had been half a month since they returned from Mother Earth. Luo Jiuchen had made up his mind to slowly move her. In this half a month, other than chatting and drinking tea with her from time to time, he did not do anything inappropriate. On the other hand, Ning Xuema looked as if she had just found out the truth. She locked herself in Shenjuli's study room and did not come out easily. She was not polite to Luo Jiuchen either. He came to invite her 10 times, but she might not come out even once. Luo Jiuchen knew that she needed time to recover, so he did not force her. Shenjuli was already dead. What could she do as a woman? The Devil Master's kung fu was indeed good, but compared to a sub-god like him, it was still lacking. He was not afraid of what she could do. In the past few days, when he was free, he wandered around the 6 worlds to understand the current structure of the 6 worlds. Therefore, he was also very busy, and was not often in the Fantian Palace. Of course, he was suspicious by nature, so he often planted all kinds of spies around her. For example, the butterfly that could repeat the conversation of people, to understand Ning Xuema's every move. He did not expect that Ning Xuema also installed an extremely small tracking device on him. Ning Xuema used to be a secret agent, so she was naturally familiar with some of the modern things. As long as she understood the principles of the modern things, she could easily change the raw materials to make them. Luo Jiuchen often gave her things, and occasionally, she would give him a gift in return. The gifts were very light, either a pen or a jade button. She seemed to have given it to him casually, so Luo Jiuchen didn't have much suspicion. Of course, he still checked the things she gave him. His skills were indeed high, but he did not understand these modern things. Other than feeling that the magnetic field of these things was slightly strange, he did not feel that they were dangerous. In order to make Ning Xuema happy, he always carried her gifts with him, so that when they met, she could see them and feel touched. What he didn't know was that because of these things, Ning Xuema knew his whereabouts like the back of her hand, so she could make her own plans. During the day, she would either practice, drink, or practice martial arts with Nianma. At night, she would bring Nianma to rest in the side chamber. The butterfly that Luo Jiuchen sent out also consumed a lot of spiritual power, so he usually sent it out during the day. When it was late at night, when Ning Xuema and her mother were resting, he would take back the butterfly and listen to it report on Ning Xuema's schedule for the day. Then he would burn it and send a new one the next day. Perhaps he was afraid that Ning Xuema would be suspicious, so he sent a different butterfly every time, just like the other butterflies in the garden of Fantian Palace. He thought that even if Ning Xuema saw it, she would not notice it. Of course, There were also times when small accidents happened. For example, there was once when Ning Xuema brought her son to play in the garden, and the butterfly he sent landed on a flower not far behind the mother and son pair. Chapter 1901. Of course, there were also some small accidents. For example, there was one time when Ning Xuema took her son to the garden to relax. The butterfly that he sent landed on a flower not far behind them. When Shen Nianma saw it, little Nianma suddenly had the urge to catch the butterfly. The butterfly could not escape in time, and fell into little Nianma's hands. He accidentally tore off 2 of its wings and pulled off its head. Therefore, when Luo Jiuchen recalled the butterfly at night, he only recalled its broken body. He could no longer report the conversation between the mother and daughter. Therefore, after 2 or 3 similar situations, Luo Jiuchen did not dare to let the butterfly get too close. He only watched from afar. Of course, the effect of such surveillance was not as good. At least, when the mother and daughter talked in a low voice, the butterfly could not hear them. Fortunately, the mother and daughter did not do anything special. After Luo Jiuchen personally watched them for a day, he did not find anything unusual. Therefore, he was relieved. It was inevitable that people would feel tired after doing the same thing. As time went by, Luo Jiuchen did not watch her so closely and sent the butterfly less frequently. Ning Xuema took advantage of this opportunity. As long as the butterfly was not around, especially in the middle of the night, she would leave a camouflage spell in the bed curtain and go into the secret chamber to refine the medicinal herbs. Another half a month had passed, and she had already refined half of the poison of heavenly water. She only needed to refine it for 1 more night, and she would be able to refine all 46 herbs into pills. When the time came, she would just have to keep the pills properly and look for the other 3 herbs. During this period, she could also practice the art of refining medicine. Once she upgraded to level 9, she could officially refine the poison of heaven water. As for the incident that happened 50,000 years ago, it was a combination of cups and cutlery. Mother Earth did not know the complete story. After all, it involved emotional issues. A slight mistake could lead to a huge difference. Therefore, Mother Earth only had a rough idea. The truth she found out was that when little Xuema was being treated for the poison in the Fanteon Palace, she didn't know if it was because the treatment wasn't done in time or for some other reason. But all her meridians were destroyed, and she became a cripple overnight. Later on, he somehow offended the Divine Lord and was chased out of the palace. He was even seriously injured. When the Devil Lord's martial arts were high, the group of devils would naturally worship her. However, once the Devil Lord's martial arts were lost, she would become a piece of fat meat. Everyone in the devil realm wanted to eat her to increase their martial arts. Of course, there were 2 types of eating, literary eating and martial eating. When Qi was to roll in the sheets with her and obtain her pure yin essence, this was to eat slowly. Martial eating meant eating her flesh and blood. The Devil Master was born and nurtured by the heavens and the earth. His spiritual power was extremely strong. According to the rumors in the devil realm, eating a piece of the Devil Master's flesh and blood could make one immortal and increase one's flesh and blood by 1,000 years. As a result, little Xuema, who was in dire straits, became Tang Seng's meat that the demons fought over. Xuema had been fighting in the devil world for many years, so naturally, she had made countless enemies. When these enemies got the news about her, they fought fiercely. Little Xuema was caught by different devils one after another. However, because these devils were not strong enough, they did not have time to cook her before other devils snatched her away. If she encountered a nimble one, it would bite her the moment it caught her. Their bites were naturally not the bites of lovers. They would directly tear off a piece of flesh. By the time little Xuema fell into the hands of the most powerful devil, other than her face, her whole body had been bitten until it was covered with cuts and bruises. Chapter 1902. This most powerful demon had once fought against little Xuema. He had once suffered at the hands of little Xuema when she was at her peak. Now that he had her, He naturally wanted to take revenge first. It was said that he had used dozens of torture methods on little Shuema, torturing her until she was hovering between life and death. He had even inserted a sharp tube into her heart and took a cup of her heart's blood every day. It was said that the heart's blood of the Devil Lord was the best nourishment for demons. It was a rare treasure. If it was an ordinary demon who had suffered such a serious injury and had his heart's blood taken, he would have turned into ashes in one go. Although little Shuema had lost all her power, she was still a demon born from heaven and earth. She couldn't die immediately and could only endure it every day. No one knew how she survived those days. It was only said that after the powerful demon drank enough of her heart's blood, he wanted to take her body and her primordial een. At the critical moment, little Shuema was saved by someone. The person who saved her was Luo Jiuchen. It was said that when Luo Jiuchen saved her, she was only half alive and didn't recognize anyone. As long as someone approached her, she would scream. Luo Jiuchen spent a lot of effort to heal her body and let her power slowly recover. After she recovered, little Shuema's temperament changed greatly. The first thing she did after she recovered was to kill her way back to the devil realm. She massacred all the devils who had betrayed her and tortured her. It was said that she thought of hundreds of ways to torture those devils. She tortured them until they were better off dead than alive. She caused the devil realm to be in a state of chaos and unrest. The rivers of the devil realm flowed with more blood than water, and the entire devil realm was filled with resentment. Little Shuema also used the flesh and blood of these demons to forge a peerless divine weapon, which was the Sky Splitter sword. Then, she used the method taught by Luo Jiuchen to refine their souls, and created an invincible 1,000 demons array. Little Shuema was still a child before she met with such a great change. Every day, she longed to grow up and marry Shenjiuli. She even wanted to take her entire Mo palace and fly away with Shenjiuli. After the great change, she developed ambition and hatred. Finally, she was like a real demon. Little Shuema then took the divine weapon, the formation, and the many demons that she had subdued with iron and blood to conquer the 6 realms. Those who obeyed her were taken in for her own use, and those who did not were killed without exception. Wherever he went, there would be wails and cries, and rivers of blood would flow. Her brutality finally alarmed the supreme divinity, who was far away in the 36th heaven. The supreme divinity finally came out of the palace and intercepted her by the Yellow Spring River in the underworld. At that time, she had already slaughtered the underworld. The elites of the underworld were all killed in that battle. Everyone was afraid of this baby-faced demon lord. Even the Lord of Hell was defeated by her and lost an arm and a leg. When Shenjiuli arrived, little Shuema was seriously torturing the captive Lord of Hell. She wanted to drain his blood and absorb his soul to strengthen her 1,000 demons array. Her method of torturing him was infuriating. All the survivors trembled in fear. Shenjiuli's arrival was timely. When the survivors saw him, it was as if they saw their savior. They all gathered around him. Shenjiuli did not disappoint. He put righteousness before family. While he was still in the air, he sent little Shuema flying with a palm strike and saved the Lord of Hell. The supreme divinity's attack was naturally different from others. This palm strike directly made little Shuema vomit blood. After she got up, she laughed 3 times and did not talk nonsense with Shenjiuli. Chapter 1903. After she got up, she laughed 3 times and didn't talk nonsense with Shenjiuli. She only said a few words. Shenjiuli, I was an idiot at first. I wanted to marry you, but now I know that gods and demons can't coexist. Let's stop talking nonsense and start fighting. Either you kill me or I kill you. If you don't kill me, I will wipe out the 6 realms and make the whole 6 realms submit to me. After throwing out these powerful words, she directly rushed forward. It was said that Shenjiuli wanted to persuade her at that time, but she didn't listen at all. She was determined to duel with Shenjiuli. In order to force Shenjiuli to fight again, she even killed the captives of the underworld, who hadn't surrendered yet. Finally, she provoked Shenjiuli to fight with her, and the great war of gods and demons began. At this time, Xuema was no longer the little Xuema, who relied on her own ability to cultivate. She had forcibly absorbed the strength of many powerhouses of the 6 realms during the expedition. Although she was still short, her strength had increased by many times compared to before. Her evil skills were amazing. In a short time, she was able to tie with Shenjiuli. But after a long time, her strength couldn't be maintained. The Great War of Gods and Demons recorded in the 6 Realms book from 50,000 years ago was summarized in 4 words. Evil can't prevail over good. After the two fought fiercely for 3 days and 3 nights, little Xuema was defeated by Shenjiuli. Shenjiuli once again destroyed her strength and captured her alive. Devil Lord Little Xuema had committed a lot of evil deeds in this expedition to the 6 realms. Millions of creatures from the 6 realms were buried in this expedition. The resentment of the entire 6 realms soared to the skies. After being captured alive, she was brought back to the Fanteon Palace. The survivors of the 6 realms were all agitated, and they wrote petitions to the Brahma Palace, demanding that the little demon master be severely punished. Every day, a large number of leaders of the 6 realms would kneel in front of the Brahma Palace, demanding that the little demon master, who had disrupted the order of the 6 realms, be sentenced to capital punishment as a warning to others. It was said that the supreme divinity allowed those people to kneel and did not come out. At the same time, because too many souls had died unjustly in that war, and there was no time to purge them, the resentment of these souls gradually formed the 8 purple evils in the 6 realms and began to bring disaster to the 6 realms. At first, no one took the purple fiend seriously. By the time they realized it, the purple fiend had already begun to wreak havoc in the 6 realms. Everywhere it went, everything went crazy. Most of the creatures in the 6 realms that had been invaded by the purple evil spirit had completely turned into mindless monsters that only knew how to bite people. This was a truly apocalyptic calamity. The purple evil poison was like a deadly contagious disease, spreading through the 6 realms at a terrifying speed. 2 days. In just 2 short days. In the 6 realms, except for those with extremely high cultivation, basically everyone had been poisoned. There was no cure for the purple evil poison, and those who were infected with it could only be killed. As a result, a lot of resentment had been added, making the already devastated 6 realms even worse. By the time the leaders of the 6 realms realized that something was wrong, it was already too late to save the situation. On the 3rd day, Shenjiuli finally left the palace, gathered the surviving leaders of the 6 realms, and told them the way to seal the purple evil poison. That was to gather the strength of the survivors to set up a sealing array, and he was responsible for attracting all the purple evil poison into the array. At that time, there were no more than 1,000 survivors in the 6 realms. These 1,000 people used their lifetime cultivation to set up the sealing array at the foot of Jiai Mountain, according to Shenjiuli's instructions. After Shenjiuli attracted all the billowing purple evil poison into the array, he activated the array. Chapter 1904. Because this calamity was caused by little Xuema, the 8 evil beasts formed by the purple fiend hated her to the core. They had to use her as a sacrifice to seal it. In the end, Shenjiuli placed righteousness above family and pushed little Xuema, who had lost her power, into the eye of the formation. She sacrificed the 8 evil beasts to seal the purple fiend successfully, and before little Xuema jumped, she swore such a vicious oath in the name of Devil Master. Even though the purple fiend was successfully sealed, those people who set up the formation had used their lifetime's worth of power. Without the protection barrier, they were infected by the purple fiend poison. Before the poison took effect, these people all committed suicide or killed each other. In the end, Shenjiuli also used his lifetime's worth of power to condense the rain of purification. That heavy rain fell for 7 days and 7 nights. Finally, all the remaining purple fiend in the world was purified. This allowed the 6 realms to recuperate after many years, allowing this land to give birth to new living beings of the 6 realms. This was the truth from 50,000 years ago that Ning Xuema learned from Mother Earth. In a short sentence, she summarized little Shuama's sad and lamentable life. When Ning Shuama heard this truth, she was also stunned for a while. After all, it was her previous life, so she was naturally very sensitive to her previous life's thoughts. Even though little Shuama didn't know love at that time, and even the things she said and did made people not know whether to laugh or cry, she really liked Shenjuli. Or rather, it was love. It was just that she didn't understand it. Being hurt by the person she loved time and time again, it was no wonder her temperament changed drastically, and she became a true devil. Or maybe when she conquered the 6 realms, she wanted to force Shenjuli to come out and give her an explanation. At that time, she really didn't want to live anymore. After all, Mother Earth's explanation was too general. There were some internal matters that even she wasn't clear about. Ning Shuama had already seen part of the scene from 50,000 years ago in her dream. Before she possessed little Shuama, Shenjuli cared about little Shuama. Because of Shenjuli's carelessness, he didn't detoxify little Shuama in time, causing her to suffer from qi deviation and vomit blood. She even fainted. Her meridians were probably destroyed at that time. If Shenjuli hadn't possessed his body, he would have most likely used some special method to detoxify little Shuama. In that case, Shenjuli would have lost nearly half of his divine power. However, he had done it willingly. He shouldn't have vented his anger on her after saving little Shuama. He shouldn't have driven her out when she had lost all her power, right? He was an ultimate god, so he should know the consequences of doing so. What happened after that to make him make such a brainless decision? Why did he make little Shuama fall into the abyss and couldn't climb back up again? It caused such serious consequences. Ning Shuama was puzzled. She couldn't wait to travel back in time to take a look, but this kind of travel didn't seem to be something she could decide. It seemed that she still needed a chance. She sighed softly. There was still a knot in her heart that she couldn't untie. In fact, she really wanted to travel back in time to change the whole story's content and ending. But she was afraid that if she changed everything, there wouldn't be any resentment later. Even Shui Yimo and Ning Shuama wouldn't appear again. Naturally, there wouldn't be little Nianma. She didn't know how many people's fates would be changed, and how many people would disappear inexplicably. After changing the ending, she might not even have the memories of Ning Shuama and Shui Yimo. Naturally, there wouldn't be any resentment between her and Shenjuli. Chapter 1905. Even though these grudges were painful and bitter, they had left a deep impression on her. These memories were extremely precious, and she didn't want to lose them. Furthermore, Mother Earth had also said that even if she had a way to transmigrate, she couldn't tell the people in that world that she was from the future. Otherwise, she would disappear again. Mother Earth had also said that this method of transmigration was extremely dangerous. If she wasn't careful, her soul wouldn't be able to find the way back. She wouldn't be able to stay in the past, and could only get lost in the long river of time before gradually dissipating. If she wanted Shenjuli to return, she had to transmigrate and change little Shuama's oath. However, what should she do? Ning Shuama's head started to hurt from thinking. She was in a daze when she suddenly sensed something, and her expression changed. Luo Jiuchen had barged into her side chamber. Her camouflage could fool that stupid butterfly he made, but it couldn't fool his magic eyes. He should be able to see through it quickly. Ning Shuama looked at the jade tracker bracelet on her wrist, and could clearly see the light that represented Luo Jiuchen rushing in her direction. Not good. She couldn't let him find out that she was refining pills. Ning Shuama jumped up. Bang! The door of the study was kicked open, and a purple figure barged in. However, he paused when he saw the scene in the study. Under the gentle luminous pearl, Ning Shuama was sitting in front of the table, flipping through a book. Her hand trembled when he kicked the door open, and the book fell to the ground. She suddenly raised her head, and a pair of clear eyes landed on his body. You gave me a fright. Why did you barge in so fiercely? Luo Jiuchen didn't say anything, and his eyes landed on the book. He raised his hand, and the book landed in his hand. He skimmed through the contents, and it was a book on cultivation spells. Looking at the handwriting, it was written by Shenjuli. Why are you reading in the middle of the night instead of sleeping? Luo Jiuchen moved slightly closer to her. There was a strong smell of alcohol on his body, and his handsome face was slightly red. His eyes were almost dripping with water. Ning Xuema pulled the book out of his hand and moved the chair back a little to put some distance between them. I slept too much during the day and can't sleep now, so I came to read a book. There was some suspicion in Luo Jiuchen's eyes. Why did you come here to read a book and put a fake person there? Who are you trying to fool? Ning Xuema's pretty face darkened. You were spying on me? Luo Jiuchen paused. He had secretly made the butterfly. Naturally, he didn't want Ning Xuema to know. After being scolded by her, he paused for a moment and shook his head. No, I just came back to see if you were asleep, but I felt that the aura inside wasn't quite right, so I went in to take a look. Why did you make a dummy? Ning Xuema still did not look good. Nianma is timid and can't leave me. I was afraid that he would be scared when I came out, so I made a dummy to share the bed with him, so that he could sleep better. But you, sir, don't you think it is rude to break into a woman's bedroom in the middle of the night without her permission? Ning Xuema took the initiative to attack after Luo Jiuchen. He paused for a moment and then answered. I am just worried about you. Ning Xuema's voice was faint. It is very safe in Fantian Palace. What are you worried about? Well, it is getting late. I am going to rest. She did not want to be entangled with him anymore, so she stood up and walked out. Luo Jiuchen felt that something was wrong, but he could not figure out what was wrong. He was about to follow her out, but suddenly he stopped. His nose twitched. Why is there a smell of medicine? Chapter 1906. Ning Xuema's heart skipped a beat. Although the alchemy room was in a secret room, she just came out in a hurry and didn't have time to clear the smell of medicine. Fortunately, she was prepared to fool Luo Jiuchen. Her fingertips turned in her sleeve, revealing a small part of her arm. There was a wound on her arm, and the wound was smeared with ointment. A faint smell of medicine came from her arm. I hurt my arm a little when I was practicing martial arts, so I applied some ointment. The ointment on Ning Xuema's wound smelled almost the same as the one Luo Jiuchen smelled. Luo Jiuchen was no longer suspicious inside. Imo, why are you so careless? Let me see. He raised his hand to touch Ning Xuema's arm, but Ning Xuema stepped back and avoided his hand. It's nothing. It's just a small wound. She quickly walked out. A shadow blurred in front of her. Luo Jiuchen blocked her way. Imo. Ning Xuema's head almost collided with his chest. His action was just right, causing Ning Xuema to almost crash into his chest. She quickly stepped back. What are you doing? Luo Jiuchen's smell of alcohol became stronger. Imo, I'm very sad. He took 2 steps forward and forced Ning Xuema directly against the wall. Imo, don't you understand my feelings for you? You won't come back. When will you accept me? She didn't know how much he drank, but his dark eyes were faintly showing signs of red at the moment. His whole body was less than half a foot away from Ning Xuema. When he opened his arms against the wall, Ning Xuema was almost in his arms. Late at night, a drunk man and a woman alone in a room. Such a scene was too dangerous for a woman, especially when he was so close to her. The smell of alcohol on his body made her dizzy. Ning Xuema slightly frowned. Her body flashed, and she used a spell to teleport herself out. In the blink of an eye, she was at the door. She coldly glanced at him standing in the room. You're drunk. Go back. Also, don't come here again. This was Shen Juli's study room. Other than Shen Nianma, Ning Xuema did not want anyone else to come here. She did not want any irrelevant people to be contaminated by the smell of this place. Even the 8 mythological beasts did not dare to set foot in this place, let alone Luo Jiuchen. His presence here made Ning Xuema feel like he was tarnishing this place. She couldn't help but wave her sleeve and use purification to purify the air in the room. Shenjuli didn't like to drink. She couldn't let Luo Jiuchen's alcohol smell in here. Luo Jiuchen was stunned for a moment before his eyes narrowed, and he suddenly laughed. IMO, it seems that you won't give up until this king uses a thunderous method. You've been thinking about him, haven't you? She couldn't forget him, could she? These things can also evoke your memories of him. Then let's just destroy it. He waved his sleeve, and a fireball blasted towards the bookshelves in the corner. Ning Xuema was shocked, and quickly used a spell to block it. She directly created a barrier in front of the bookshelves. The fireball hit the barrier with an unusually strong force. Ning Xuema was shocked, and her face turned slightly pale. You're crazy. Luo Jiuchen squinted his eyes. Let's see how long you can block it. There is nothing that I can't do. He waved his sleeve again, and countless fireballs blasted towards the bookshelves on the four walls. He deliberately wanted to destroy this place. Ning Xuema's face changed drastically. Basically, all of Shenjuli's things were in this study room. If it was destroyed, there would be nothing left. Almost without hesitation, she suddenly used the wood element water wall technique. Chapter 1907. Almost without thinking, she suddenly released the wood-attributed water wall technique and set up a barrier around the study, protecting all the bookshelves inside. Luo Jiuchen's flames hit her barrier one after another. His divine power was similar to Shenjuli's, and Ning Xuema's cultivation had not fully recovered. So how could she be his opponent? Her face turned white from the shock, and she directly spat out blood. Get out of the way. Luo Jiuchen's face also sank. Today this lord must destroy this place. You're dreaming. Ning Xuema only replied with one sentence. Very good. Then you can see if this lord is dreaming or not. Luo Jiuchen was also angry. His fingers in his sleeves flicked and countless fireballs whistled through the air. The wind was sharp, and the sound was like a whistle, shocking the ears. It was clear that in order to destroy these books, he had used 80% of his strength. Not to mention the bookshelves. Even if his fireballs were to destroy a palace, it would be enough. Every fireball was powerful enough to turn a palace into ashes. Not to mention there were so many of them. So many fireballs bombarded Ning Xuema's barrier, causing her body to sway several times. Stars appeared in front of her eyes, and the barrier she set up emitted cracking sounds, as if it was on the verge of breaking. She spat out a mouthful of blood, but still stubbornly stood there, not retreating a single step. Luo Jiuchen probably did not expect that she would fight so hard to protect these books. He drank too much and his temper was aroused. He raised his head and laughed. IMO, it seems that if this lord doesn't teach you a lesson, you won't know the immensity of heaven and earth. He directly sent a palm towards Ning Xuema. The purple light was like lightning, dazzling and shining, showing no mercy at all. Ning Xuema's face turned pale. She unsheathed the sky splitter and cut the purple light. With a thunderous sound, Ning Xuema was forced to take a few steps back. The sky splitter sword was stimulated by the purple light and trembled in Ning Xuema's hand as if it had gone crazy. The entire sword hilt was purple red. This purple light was clearly not an ordinary flame. After the sky splitter sword was burned red by the purple light, its temperature reached 1,000 degrees. If it was an ordinary steel sword, it would have been melted by the purple light. Although the sky splitter sword was a divine sword, it was still as hot as a hot iron. Sharp whistling sounds came from the sword, which were the painful cries of the imprisoned devil spirit. Although Ning Xuema's palm was protected by psyche power, she was still scalded by the sword hilt. However, she held on to it tightly. She felt that there were countless demonic forces drilling into her arm from the sword hilt, and quickly spreading throughout her body. Her black eyes gradually turned red. Luo Jiuchen, if you want to destroy this place, you'll have to do it over my dead body. She held the sky splitter sword in front of her chest. She still tried her best not to fight with Luo Jiuchen here. With her and Luo Jiuchen's skills, once they really fought, they could directly tear the palace into pieces. This was something she would never allow. Therefore, she was mainly defending with all her might. Even if she was seriously injured, she was not willing to take a step back. The more she acted like this, the angrier Luo Jiuchen became. A ruthless look appeared in his eyes. IMO, you asked for it. He wanted to give Ning Xuema a bloody lesson, and also wanted to establish his prestige in front of her. He wanted her to know when to advance, and when to retreat. He wanted her to know that he was the one who had the final say in this world. He was the master of the 6 realms, and no one could challenge his authority. He would not kill her, but he would leave her with one last breath. Anyway, he had the ability to save her, so he was not afraid of her running away. He wanted her to know that he was her sky. Chapter 1908. No matter how capable the other man was, he was now a dead man and could no longer protect her. She had to accept the reality. With this purpose in mind, he attacked Ning Xuema mercilessly. Rays of purple light were thrown at Ning Xuema one after another. Ning Xuema desperately resisted and swore to live and die with the study. "Don't hurt my mother." Suddenly, there was a sharp cry from a boy outside the door. A small white light was thrown at Luo Jiuchen. "Nianma." Ning Xuema's face changed. She could risk her life, but not her child. "Nianma, back off." She desperately rushed in the direction of little Nianma. The white light that Shen Nianma launched did not pose any threat to Luo Jiuchen. He did not even try to avoid it. The white light was dissolved by him before it could get close to him. Luo Jiuchen had always disliked Shen Nianma. When he saw him appear at this time, he almost did not think and hit Shen Nianma with his palm. Ning Xuema was originally seriously injured, but in order to save her son, she was willing to risk her life. Her figure was as fast as lightning as she pounced on her son. Almost at the same time, Luo Jiuchen's purple light ball arrived. It smashed right into Ning Xuema's back. Ning Xuema's body was weak, but she desperately pushed her son away. "Run!" Shen Nianma was pushed away, and Ning Xuema fell to the ground. Her back seemed to be broken, and her vision turned black. "Mother!" Little Nianma shouted, and turned around to rush directly to Ning Xuema. Luo Jiuchen used the wine to cover his face. He waved his sleeve, and another purple light ball was thrown at little Nianma. "Little master!" The 8 mythological beasts appeared together. 8 figures were emitting different light waves, and intertwined in the sky above the mother and daughter. However, the purple light ball that Luo Jiuchen launched was too powerful. The wizardry barrier set up by the 8 mythological beasts could not stop his attack. With a loud bang, the purple light ball penetrated the wizardry barrier, and the barrier set up by the 8 mythological beasts dissipated like glass. However, the purple ball did not stop, and continued to shoot toward little Nianma. Even Ning Xuema and the 8 mythological beasts could not stop the purple light ball. If it hit little Nianma, it was hard to imagine what would happen. Most likely, he would be smashed into pieces and disappear. Ning Xuema wanted to stop him, but all the bones in his body felt like they were about to break. He couldn't even lift a finger, let alone stop him. Boom! The purple light ball finally hit Shen Nianma. Ning Xuema was scared out of her wits. Just as she was about to hug her son, something incredible happened. Suddenly, a layer of dazzling white light burst out from Shen Nianma's body. The purple light ball hit the white light and flew back like a meteor. Moreover, their speed was 10 times faster than when they came. Luo Jiuchen didn't expect his attack to fly back. He couldn't dodge in time, and was hit in the chest by the purple light ball. The power of the purple light ball was 10 times stronger than when it went. With a crack, Luo Jiuchen was almost sent flying by his own purple light ball. He took a few steps back, and his vision turned black. His chest was very painful. He subconsciously touched it with his hand, and found that 3 of his ribs were broken. His chest was tight, and he vomited. He vomited wine and blood. His body swayed for a moment, but he stood firm again. He looked at Shen Nianma in disbelief. He found that the little guy had jumped up and blocked in front of Ning Xuema. He stared at Luo Jiuchen with his big eyes. "Don't hurt my mother." Chapter 1909. The little guy was not injured at all, so his voice was full of energy. Ning Xuema was lying on the ground. Her face was pale, and there was blood at the corner of her mouth. She was obviously seriously injured, but she still struggled to stay awake. She wanted to get up several times to protect her son, but she was not strong enough. "Imo." Luo Jiuchen vomited the wine and recovered a lot. When he saw Ning Xuema in such a state, his heart ached, and he wanted to go forward. "Don't come over." Shen Nianma stood in front of him like a fierce tiger. At the same time, the 8 mythological beasts surrounded Ning Xuema to protect her. Get out of the Fantian Palace. You are not welcome here. Shen Nianma's eyes were red, and his little fists were clenched tightly. Luo Jiuchen stopped and sneered. I think you have misunderstood. This is the place where the Divine Lord lives. Now that I am the Divine Lord, this is my territory. Nonsense. This is my father's place. Every blade of grass and every tree belongs to my father. It has nothing to do with you. Get out. The Fantian Palace was built by the heavenly law for the guardian. It is not a family. Only the guardian is the owner of this place. Your father's soul has been destroyed and will never come back. I am now the guardian of the heavenly law, so this is my territory. If anyone wants to leave, it should be you. Luo Jiuchen was angry. Bastard, you are the one who has been destroyed. My father is just recuperating. He will come back. Get out of here. Don't dirty this place. Shen Nianma yelled. If he did not know that he was not a match for this person, he would have beaten him up. He could not wait to throw this person out of the Fantian Palace. Is this your third request? Luo Jiuchen suddenly asked. Shen Nianma was about to answer. Yes. Nianma. Ning Xuema suddenly called out. Her call woke Shen Nianma up instantly. He quickly shut his mouth and then said coldly to Luo Jiuchen. In your dreams. Then he quickly turned to look at his mother. When he saw her, his tears came out again. His mother's injuries were too severe. Her face was as pale as snow. She tried to get up several times, but to no avail. As he moved, he spat out another mouthful of blood. Luo Jiuchen's gaze fell on her. His eyes flickered slightly, and a trace of regret flashed across his eyes. He was afraid that he would push her even further away. But would she change her mind if he treated her well? Probably not, right? Since that was the case, he might as well go all the way. He looked at the surrounding walls, and a fierce look flashed in his eyes. That person had left too many traces here, so he might as well destroy them all. He suddenly waved his sleeves. 8 balls of light flew towards the 4 walls. If he wanted to destroy it, he would destroy it completely. Ning Xuema was shocked, and Shen Nianma screamed. You are not allowed to destroy my father's things. His little body desperately rushed toward a purple light ball. Boom, boom, boom. With several sounds, the bookshelves on the 4 walls were hit by the balls of light and shook violently. At the same time, little Nianma's body also hit a ball of light. Therefore, a strange situation happened again. Little Nianma's body emitted an extremely bright white light again, and the purple light ball was reflected back. Luo Jiuchen was prepared for the moment when little Nianma rushed out. When he saw the purple light ball was reflected back, his handsome face darkened, and he immediately shot another ball to stop the one that was reflected back. The 2 balls of light collided and made an earth-shattering noise. Chapter 1910. Luo Jiuchen's body flew straight out and hit a bookshelf with a loud bang. The bookshelf shook again. Luo Jiuchen's vision turned black. He was hit by the light balls twice with 10 times the power. Even he could not bear it. He vomited blood again. Young master, he can't hurt you, Bai Zhe shouted. He seemed to have thought of something. He can't hurt the person who let him out. This must have been set up by the Divine Lord. She was afraid that he would bite the hand that fed him. Shen Nianma also understood, and his courage increased a lot. Hey, he can't destroy the bookshelves here either. The Divine Lord must have set up something here, so that no one can destroy it. Tingxi also shouted. Luo Jiuchen looked at the bookshelves around. After being hit by him, the bookshelves were still intact. None of the books on them had fallen. It was a slap in the face. Luo Jiuchen was furious. He did not believe that he could not destroy a few broken bookshelves. However, with this child here, he would be hurt if he tried to protect the bookshelves. He was cunning. He waved his left sleeve and shot a purple light ball toward Ning Xuema. At the same time, he also waved his right sleeve and shot the red lotus fire at the bookshelves. Little Nianma was indeed more important to protect his mother. He blocked the purple light ball, but he could not block the red lotus fireballs. The red lotus light ball shot onto the bookshelf, and the bookshelf suddenly moved. The 4 bookshelves spun around in the hall, and the 4 bookshelves turned into 16 bookshelves. White light rose from the 16 bookshelves, and the 16 white lights intertwined in the air. A white-clothed figure slowly emerged from the white light. Luo Jiuchen suddenly took a step back. Shen Nianma shouted happily, "Father!" He jumped up and rushed over. He thought that he could jump into his father's arms, but he did not expect that it would be like the last time. His little body went directly through the white figure. The white figure was not real. Little Nianma was stunned. He finally had experience. He looked at the illusory figure of his father with tears in his big eyes. Why? Why was it that when he finally saw his father, it was another shadow? When would the real person come back? When would she be able to hug him? When would he be able to protect him and his mother? Ning Xuema finally caught her breath. With the help of Qiongqi, she managed to stand up. She also looked at the shadow. Tears welled up in his eyes, but he pursed his lips tightly. She was more knowledgeable than Shen Nianma, so she knew that it was just a shadow. It was similar to the 4-dimensional imaging technology in science fiction. Once the mechanism was triggered, the shadow would appear. It seemed that Shen Juli had thought of everything. He thought that once Luo Jiuchen was released, he might destroy the things in Fantian Palace. So he had set up this trap in advance. Divine Lord. Although it was only a shadow, the 8 divine beasts still bowed down and kowtowed just like before. The figure was dressed in white, and had black hair, just like his usual attire. His expression was as cold as before. His eyes fell on Luo Jiuchen as he slowly said, "You are not allowed to destroy anything in Fantian Palace. Otherwise, you will definitely regret it." His voice was like a cold spring, flowing through the air. Luo Jiuchen was stunned. He narrowed his eyes and looked at the shadow in front of him with deep hatred. Suddenly he looked up and laughed. "Shen Juli, you are already dead. Do you still want to care about everything?" Chapter 1911. You are not allowed to destroy anything in the Fantian Palace. The shadow spoke again and repeated the previous words mechanically, but this time, the voice seemed to be colder. "Okay. I will not destroy anything in the Fantian Palace." Luo Jiuchen suddenly laughed. His smile was still beautiful, but it gave people a sense of coldness. "Then, how about I bully your wife in front of you?" As soon as he finished the sentence, he suddenly reached out and shot a purple light toward Ning Xuema. Shen Nianma and the rest of the people's attention were focused on Shen Juli's shadow, so they were caught off guard. Ning Xuema's waist was tightened, and in a blink of an eye, she fell into Luo Jiuchen's arms. "Mother!" Shen Nianma was shocked and rushed over. "Let go of my mother." At this moment, Luo Jiuchen also understood that he could not attack Shen Nianma, so he took Ning Xuema and retreated quickly to avoid Shen Nianma's attack. Now that he had offended them, he did not mind offending them further. He wanted to let these people know who was the master of this place. Ning Xuema's whole body was in pain. She wanted to struggle, but she did not have the strength to. Luo Jiuchen's lips curved into a cruel smile. His fingers hooked Ning Xuema's collar. "Imo, are you still not giving up?" He protected his son and the bookshelves, but he did not protect you. This shows that he does not care about you. Why do you have to protect yourself for him? Why don't you be with me? I will make you my queen. From now on, you will only be under one person and above everyone else. You will be worshipped by everyone. Isn't that better? His words were very vicious, but Ning Xuema did not listen at all. She raised her hand and wanted to use her magic, but she was restrained by him and could not move for a while. "Imo, you are too stubborn. If that is the case, don't blame me for using ruthless means." He hooked his finger and tore Ning Xuema's collar. "Some women would only be loyal to you if you had her body." This was the experience that Luo Jiuchen had gained from traveling in the 6 realms 50,000 years ago. Therefore, he wanted to try it on Ning Xuema. He liked her, and had been thinking about her for more than 50,000 years. If it was not because he wanted to scheme against Shen Juli, and used her as a chess piece, perhaps she would have been his. Now that he had raped her in front of Shen Juli's shadow, he felt a sense of accomplishment, even though he knew that the shadow was ignorant. In the current 6 realms, he was the strongest, and in Fantian Palace, He had an absolute advantage. If he wanted a woman, no one would be able to stop him. When Shen Nianma saw that his mother was being bullied, he was furious. He kept attacking Luo Jiuchen. As long as Luo Jiuchen did not attack him, there was nothing he could do. Luo Jiuchen moved around the room, and Shen Nianma missed him. In the process, he also tore Ning Xuema's clothes. The 8 mythological beasts were also extremely angry. Although the great devil master was not officially married to the divine lord, she was already the mistress in the eyes of the 8 mythological beasts. How could they be willing to see her being humiliated at this moment? They also pounced on Luo Jiuchen and wanted him to put her down. The originally peaceful study room was now in chaos. Ning Xuema's acupoints had already been sealed, so she didn't even have the strength to struggle. The moment Luo Jiuchen's thin fingers touched her skin, her eyes seemed to be dyed with blood. She spat out word by word, "Luo Jiuchen, you will pay for everything you've done today." Chapter 1912. His voice was as cold as a curse, and Luo Jiuchen was stunned. Little Nianma took the opportunity to pounce on Luo Jiuchen with bloodshot eyes. He grabbed Luo Jiuchen's arm and tried to bite it. Luo Jiuchen had a protective wizardry barrier around him, so little Nianma could not bite him. However, the little guy in front of him seemed to have a special body. His little white teeth sank deep into his flesh, and blood instantly oozed out. He was in so much pain that he trembled. He suddenly swung his arm and threw the little guy away. He used a normal physical attack, and only threw the little guy away. He did not hurt him, so he did not suffer any backlash. Shen Nianma kicked the wall with his little feet and somersaulted in the air. He rushed back like a cannonball. His eyes were bloodshot. "Let go of my mother." His father once told him to learn his skills, so that he could protect his mother when he grew up. However, now his mother was being bullied, and he could not do anything about it. It almost drove him crazy. For the first time in his life, the little boy was extremely angry. The blood in his body seemed to be boiling. Seeing that he was rushing over again, Luo Jiuchen frowned and dodged again. However, he laughed. "Little Nianma, there is only one way to make me let go. Say it as the third condition. Otherwise, you can only watch your mother being bullied by me." Shen Nianma's eyes were bloodshot. Nianma, you can't," Ning Xuema hurriedly said. But before she could finish, Luo Jiuchen hit her acupoint to mute her. Luo Jiuchen looked at her coldly. "Would you rather be bullied by me than let me be the master of this world? Do you still think that he can come back?" He raised his hand to tear her thin clothes. "My third condition is that you cannot touch anything that belongs to the former divine lord, including her. Including people." Little Nianma suddenly said word by word. Luo Jiuchen was stunned. He thought that little Nianma's condition was to let go of his mother and not harm her. He did not expect the little guy to make such a request. He did not want to agree. When he was about to refute, little Nianma said again, "This is the only condition. I swear that I will never change it. I'll count to 10. If you don't agree, then you'll never hear the third condition, and you'll never become the master of heaven and earth." The little fellow's words were sonorous and forceful, and Luo Jiuchen froze again. Seeing that the little fellow was counting quickly and was about to reach 10, Luo Jiuchen didn't want to miss out on this opportunity to become the master of heaven and earth. He made up his mind and said, "Okay, I promise you." Following his promise, a bolt of golden lightning fell from the sky, signifying that the promise had been made. At the same time, Luo Jiuchen's body also emitted rings of brilliant 7-colored light, gradually forming a halo behind him, like the light of Buddha. He had finally become the master of heaven and earth. He had finally become the guardian of the heavenly Tao. Since he had made a promise, he could no longer violate Ning Xuema's wishes and violate her. Otherwise, he would be locked back into the bell and would never be able to come out again. He put Ning Xuema down and unsealed her acupoints. I'm sorry. I had no choice. I didn't really want to hurt you." In response, Ning Xuema slapped him across the face. It was unusually loud and clear as it hit his handsome face. His eyes flashed as he accepted the slap. Ning Xuema was seriously injured, so the strength she could use was limited. At most, this slap would only make his cheeks turn red. You're tuning in to the Li Mei's Wuxia Whispers YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support. And don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.